Yeah. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Fan of states. You stay classy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Happy Monday. We are back, baby. Welcome in. Great to have you. Hope you had a spectacular weekend. Hope nothing broke and everything went smoothly. I am Rob Brown, the great one, Alonzo, on the ones and twos, both of us. And I can say this before I even ask how Lonzo's doing. The answer is both of us doing better than the Cleveland Cavaliers this morning.
Maybe, I guess.
I
know they're not they got their butts really, really beat bad yesterday.
In this series at large so far.
It was a Mother's Day gift to all the Sirs moms.
Yeah, somebody got called a mother yesterday. Couple people got called mothers yesterday. That was who for a team that came into these NBA playoffs as a 1 seed, for a team that came into these NBA playoffs as what I believe the second or third shortest betting odds to win an NBA Finals.
Don't you hate when you get got? Thought Cleveland's a real deal. They should at least go, maybe to the Eastern Conference Finals. They'll face the Celtics, and now it's pretty ugly.
It looks real ugly. The Pacers put up 80 in the first half yesterday. Miles Turner hit a fadeaway from the corner as time expired to get them to 80, which is tied with the 2017 Boston Celtics for the most points put up in a single half of an NBA playoff game. Both teams would start pulling starters late in the game. Indiana would only win this game by 20. Probably should have won it by about 90. That was rough. That was rough. That's rough for Seatown. And again, Seatown's banged up, right? Like they got some guys out there, DeAndre, etc., that have been banged up, that have been either unavailable or clearly still ain't 100% now that they are available. But that was just an embarrassment. They got doubled up in the first half. It was 80-39 after the first half. And you've got to take into consideration the fact that I saw a lot of people trying to mark this up to, well, Donovan Mitchell didn't play in the second half because he hurt his ankle in second half warmups. Sure, you were down 41 at the half, and he did play in the first half. I don't know that it would have mattered. You didn't cut the lead from 40 down to 20 because the Pacers suddenly forgot how to shoot the rock in the second half. You cut it down to 20 because the Pacers said, "All right, boys, let's take a breather. Let's get ready for the next game. Let's get ready for the next one at Seatown." That was real interesting. We're going to talk about that game later on. We got to talk, of course, about the Celtics game 3 against the Knicks. The Knicks came back from down 20 in the first 2 games to win both of them. The Celtics absolutely laid it on the Knicks during game 3. 115-93. It wasn't that close. It's incredible, Boston. It's incredible what happens when you hit your shots. It's incredible what happens when you play efficient basketball. It's incredible what happens when you run the set. It's incredible what happens when you make your shots. And I said that on one of the weekend shows. I had Bet for the Cycle. I was on Pat Boyle's weekend show. I was on Sean Levine's weekend show on the Infinity Sports Network. I did a lot of extra hours this weekend. And why not? It was a good weekend to do it. Mini camp. I was talking Panthers on a couple of stations. Hosted BetMGM tonight on Friday. Like, it's been busy with a capital B. And we were talking about this Knicks Celtics game on a couple of them. And one of the hosts, and I wish I remember which one. It wasn't Levine, I don't think. One of them said something along the lines of, well, Rob Brown, you keep saying, oh, well, they've got to do a better job making their shots. But, like, sometimes the shots just aren't falling. That's basketball, which is fair. But sometimes the shots aren't falling in part because you're taking bad shots. Sometimes the shots aren't falling because you're not giving yourself the best opportunity for the shots to fall. If you tell me that to win $1 million, I need to hit 10 consecutive shots, where am I going to take those shots? Right next to the basket, right? I'm going to go stand right next to the glass. I'm going to go hit bunnies. I'm going to go make layups. If you tell me 10 shots consecutively makes me $1 million, I'm not going outside the arc to launch threes. Especially when I know that even when I was a hooper, I didn't have a great three-point shot. Like, it was fine. It was pretty average. But I wouldn't put myself out there for a three to tie it as time expires, right? And I go back to games 1 and 2. And what killed me about Boston in games 1 and 2 was not that they were missing the shots. It's that they were taking dumb ones. It's not that they were missing shots. It's the NBA. You're going to have an off night. Sometimes there's just some little hitch in your shooting method that's out of sync. Happens to everybody. I mean, you got a little extra jump in the leg. Maybe you're a little fatigued in the legs. So your traditional jump shot isn't there. And it's hard to adjust, whatever. That wasn't the problem in games 1 and 2 for the Boston Celtics. What was the problem in games 1 and 2 for the Boston Celtics is that the offenses that they usually run and are used to running weren't there. And because they weren't there, they were kind of trying to force it. And so I got the ball working around the top of the arc. Nobody's driving. Nobody's going to the rack. We're even though we're shooting threes at a 25% clip, we're shooting 43s, and they're not going down. And nobody does anything different. That's the spot where. And I like Jason Tatum. Cody Decker and I had this fight on Saturday. I like Jason Tatum a lot. But if I don't have a Jason Tatum who is comfortable late in games when his team is fighting for its life to put the ball on the floor, to get to the rack, and to make something happen, then I don't have a superstar as much as I want him to be. After the first 2 games, I thought about you, great one. After game 2, the second 20-point come-from-behind victory by the New York Knicks in Beantown. After game 2, I had the TV on. I was sitting there doing show prep, getting ready for whatever show was coming up next. And I hear the word Superman on TV. And I'm like, oh, new trailer? What do we got? What do we got here? What are we talking about? Because my interest is rapidly growing in the new Superman movie. We'll talk about that later. Rapidly growing. So I look up and I pay attention to the TV, and there's an advertising campaign, a joint ad campaign between the NBA and the new Superman movie from DC, starring Jason Tatum. And the premise of the commercial is that Superman is taking a day off and Jason Tatum is filling in for him that day. You seen this commercial?
I have.
Like, it's nothing. I really thought you like put him in the costume, have him fly around or something. Like have him do. No, it's just him. And at like one point, he takes off his suit jacket. And he's got the Superman logo on his shirt under. It's pretty low key Superman advertisement. But the premise was Superman is taking a day off, and Jason Tatum's the guy that's going to fill in and play the role of superhero that day. And this commercial aired about 3 minutes after Jason Tatum, for like the first time in that game, took the ball with seconds left to play, dribbled down into the corner, and got absolutely stuffed by Mikal Bridges. Went down to the corner, tried to rise up, looked for a jumper, nothing there, turns backwards to try a throw to throw a holy bleep, I'm in trouble pass to literally anybody. Bridges just stuffs him and takes it, and then they immediately roll to Superman's out. Can Jason Tatum save the day? And it's like, nah, apparently not.
Since you spent some time on TV, I don't know if you noticed the behind-the-scenes stuff. We can move commercials around in radio. Can they do the same thing in TV? Is there a shot that some producer kind of moved it and stuck it right there after he saw that play?
Well, I would love to play into that theory that there is a hilarious producer behind the scenes that was like, yo, watch this. Realistically, that commercial has been playing like every third break during these games. This thing was getting played constantly during the break. And for the record, I was good with it. Honestly, I was good with it. Because I like Jason Tatum a lot. Jason Tatum is the star of this team. That is inarguable. I've made that point a number of times. That is just a fact. This guy is the star of the team. Jaylen Brown won the finals MVP last year. I think anybody who followed that series, that specifically the NBA finals last year, but really the conference finals as well, knows that Derek White was the guy that really kind of carried this team last year, because there were a couple of spots where teams were taking away Tatum and Brown's shot wasn't working. Derek White stepped up. It's what I love about the Celtics. They're wildly adaptable. They're very versatile. They can play. If Tatum's not the guy, they can go to Brown. If Brown's having an off night, they can go to White. If White's having an off night, they can go to Porzingis and play through Porzingis. If none of those guys are having a night, here comes 92-year-old Al Horford for no good reason to go get 18, 12, and 10. Like they just have the ability to adapt. But in games 1 and 2 of this series, it's like they completely lost that ability. And to kick it back to the team we opened with, it's like the Pacers found it, man. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like a Space Jam situation where the Celtics, like somebody took their special stuff and gave it to Indiana somehow, transferred it via osmosis with a basketball. I don't know how it played out. But this Celtics team in games 1 and 2, the shots weren't falling. And in a spot where the shots aren't falling, that's where I need you to do anything else. Go to fundamental basketball. Work the ball up top, have guys moving off ball, set screens, get around to the outside, and dribble drive to the rack. And it's like, no, we're gonna keep shooting. We're going to keep shooting. We're gonna keep lifting the rock. We're gonna do what we do. And on one hand, I appreciate the we're gonna do what we do vibes, right? Like what you don't want to do is have one day for the number 2 seeded team in the East, one day where it's not working, one day where you're a little bit off, and then you go, okay, we got to do something different, and you lose what made you special. But you're the reigning defending. You're still the man now, dog. You're still that guy. You're still them guys. I understand wanting to do what you do, but what I'm asking you to do differently is just play classic basketball. Just play basketball. Come off the dribble, get to the rack, right? Like Just do your thing. And I really didn't understand it. I didn't see what they were doing. Then they come out in game 3. Would you look at that? The shots are falling. New York's in trouble. I'm going to go ahead and call the shot. I think Boston's winning game 4 in New York. We're going back to Boston having the home court advantage. It was Jaylen Brown. And I will say this is not ordinarily something that I would love. But for some reason out of Jaylen Brown, I did. Jaylen Brown's just got that. I don't know how to describe it, Zoe. Have you seen Jaylen Brown talk? He's just got that, like, that face that radiates intensity to the point of fear.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter who I'm rooting for, but I'm going to root for New York, which is weird for me, just because I want somebody new winning this year. There's a chance for somebody new or someone who hasn't won the NBA title in a long time, right?
I mean, I don't remember when the last time the Knicks won it, but
have they ever? I mean,
yeah, but like
in the 60s, maybe?
Like in the 60s. The New York Knicks' last World Championship was 1973. You weren't far off.
So I would like to see the Celtics lose. I would like to see Denver lose. I'd like to see Cleveland win. That's not happening.
Why do you want Denver to lose? I thought you'd be a Jokic guy.
Because they've won recently.
Oh, you just don't like.
No, I want to see someone new win. See a little parity.
I like Boston. I like watching Boston play. Like I said, I think
Boston's a little boring. I
don't find Boston boring at all. I find the quantity of threes boring when they're not dropping. But when they're, what were they, 20 of 40 in the win? When they're 20 of 40, I can live with it. When they're 20 of 40 and they're racking up, 15, 16 offensive rebounds a game, I'm good with it. I like this team. I like Tatum. I like Brown. I like White. I like them as players. In a weird way, I have like some soft spot for Al Horford. I like this team a lot. In a weird way, I'm also pulling for New York just because I want to see what the Bronx looks like if the Knicks win a world championship. The problem for the Knicks is Boston figured it out. Boston figured it out. All right, when we take a break, when we come back, I hesitate to jump back into this Bill Belichick thing, but I also am so fascinated by it. Like, the inner watches TMZ out of morbid curiosity in me is coming out. So we'll talk more about that and a whole lot more. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. Welcome to the Fan Upstate. Good morning, Internet. Great to have you all.
Just let you know, I'm still not breathing real well. So
yeah, I'm struggling this morning. We're a couple of snotty dudes.
Yeah, I'm still having trouble sleeping because of the rattle.
The rattle?
There's a rattle in my.
Oh no!
Yeah, and that's the bronchitis. It's not just going to go away. It's going to take a little bit. So I just lay there and it's like, okay, this is what death sounds like? I don't like this.
Are you being medicated?
Yeah, but I'm not out of it.
Yeah.
So.
Bobby Carpenter turned to QC Kinetics. We couldn't be happier saving our patients like him from operating rooms and long recoveries.
Which is a lot of running, it's a lot of workouts. I've been very, very blessed with how it's been working.
Patients are accepting the only solution. With new technologies, the medical professionals at QC Kinetics use regenerative treatments, your body's own biologics, to help heal and restore knees, hips, shoulders, and backs.
I actually ran into a friend of mine over at our golf course. He had his knee done, it felt so well. He got his shoulder done. He goes, I can't thank you enough. He heard it commercial on the air. So it's feeling great.
Find out how you can avoid surgery and finally get relief. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics
864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772.
Don't know where the baby filter is, but all these baby.
I hate it so much.
You
I don't know
would.
why.
You would.
I hate it.
I love it. The Monty Python one is great.
There's a whole account that all it does is take video clips from podcasts and then remake them as babies. And it's like, just post the clip, man.
They fled. Weeds died by the next day. Find spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
Oh, these polymers aren't as flexible as batch K3.
Researcher Laurie is stretched thin.
Did you get the vulcanization analytics from B66? Wait, did these rubber scores from last week?
She needs to hire new lab technicians so she can bounce back into her old self.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our matching platform lets you spend less time searching and more time connecting with candidates. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Sponsored by Rapid Radio.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get 60% off. Free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
Here's how to get in the game. On your radio at 97.7 FM, 1330 AM, Greenville. 97.1 FM, 950 AM, Spartanburg.
Listen on your phone, download the Odyssey app and search The Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about sound if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Say play 97 The Fan Upstate. On your HD radio at WFBC HD3. Just one more time. And on your computer at
FanUpstate.com.
Text or call. One number does it all. 844-326-3663. That's 844-FAN-PHONE. This is the Rod Brown Show on the Fan.
This Belichick thing is still a football story, right? Like I wondered over the weekend if we have crossed from football story over into paparazzi, TMZ, pop culture, drama, whatever story.
See, I'm not sure it's a football story. I mean, unless did she indeed get banned from North Carolina? If she did, then it's a football story. If not, it's just some old guy dating a younger girl who is demanding and controlling, I suppose.
See, there's two sides to it.
If it's in the middle of football season, then it's a football story.
Well, I mean, it's college football, which is more professional than it's ever been before. I've said before, I use the expression, the Rob Brown Show, no off seasons. The NFL doesn't really have an off season, and I don't think college football really has an off season anymore. I think college football is, as it has moved into a more professional environment, is now a year-long event. I think you've always got to be dialed in. So that is part of the reason that I do think it is a football story. I think part of the reason that it is a football story is because of the amount of money that North Carolina is paying Bill Belichick to come in and run this program like a professional sporting outfit. And I think the other reason that it still feels like a football story to me, as dramatic as it might be, as drama-filled as it might be, is because, to some degree, even if you don't like the guy, there is still a level of respect for Bill Belichick for what he did and built and managed and ran and succeeded with as an NFL head coach, as arguably, I don't even think arguably, as definitively the GOAT of NFL coaching. The legacy of Bill Belichick is absolutely something that I think people, for whatever reason, a variety of them I'm sure, do care about. For me, it is much like many things are, I love the NFL. The NFL is, I am a professional football guy before I'm a college football guy. I know that to many of you, that is blasphemy. but it is what it is. And so I think there are a number of people who go, if Hoodie, for whatever reason, sees his legacy tarnished at the college level, then to some degree, it'll be a negative view on the NFL. I'm not saying they're right. I just think that's how people see it.
How would it be tarnished? There's a bunch of NFL coaches that went down to college and didn't do well. I don't know that it tarnishes it.
The not doing well under the optics of, you do not have to agree that this is happening, but there are a lot of us who do. The optics of being picked up to bring that mentality down to the college ranks, and then instead of that, we see what appears to be on the outside looking in, Bill Belichick being managed, handled, controlled perhaps by a 24-year-old woman. So on Friday's show, during the show, and it was nice to have some breaking news in the show instead of seconds after it's over, as is the norm, Pablo Torre put out a report from #sources that Bill Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend had been banned from the North Carolina practice facilities. We were talking about it on the air as this report was coming out. Lonzo said, well, do we know this is real or is this just a trust me bro moment? The answer to me was, I don't know. But it kind of feels like this would be a big thing for Pablo Torre to get wrong. It is, maybe because we are in the offseason. It is the biggest story in the sports landscape right now. And that is a pretty massive accusation to make without being, pretty confident in it. Well, Pablo Torre says while we are on the air on Friday, Jordan Hudson has been banned from the UNC practice facilities. Within like an hour, because it was before I left the building on Friday, North Carolina put out a statement that said, that's not true. Jordan Hudson is still welcome at the practice facilities. Then some other media members doubled down and said North Carolina did not outright ban her, but did kind of ask that she, for the time being, be made scarce around the facility.
Okay. Well, when we said ban, we didn't mean. I mean, you took it. But we think of ban in a different way than you think of ban. Okay, it's just a matter of perspective. A ban's a ban, dude. So if you got it wrong, you got it wrong. Are the people who reported it was banned? If North Carolina said it, she wasn't. Unless there's more here.
Well, that's again like that to me. That to me is part of the story. If they went to Bill and said, hey, we don't think it is appropriate for her to be around the building right now, even if it is not an official ban, you get it, right? You get the point.
No, it needs to be on letterhead. It needs to, it's
written in calligraphy.
To be official, I don't know how they speak in North Carolina at that university. I don't know.
She ain't welcome around here no more. I don't think that's how they speak on Tobacco Road.
Yeah, I think there's I believe a graduate right over there, and I don't think they speak that way.
Pretty sure they don't.
I could be wrong.
All of that being said, the fact that this is as big as it is, I think stems from two places. Number one, again, the most notorious coach in the history of the National Football League. And number two, a university that, and this is just my opinion, North Carolina is not, just on paper, just not going to be as good as they were last year. Doesn't matter who the coach is. Could bring Nick Saban out of retirement. They lost Drake May a couple of years ago. They've lost Amarian Hampton, who was that team, in my ever so humble opinion, last year. They just don't have the dogs that they had for a couple of years.
It seems to me with North Carolina, I'm curious because you were high on them for a couple of years and they were not that good. So I wonder if it's the opposite effect. I can't wait to see.
I mean, we'll find out. There are people who are putting bets down on on UNC to win the ACC this year.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I know you don't think so, but it's definitely a possibility.
But I'm not going to put a Paul Pierce walk to work bet down on it.
Okay.
All right. Mainly because
It's a long walk.
that sounds exhausting.
Yes.
I would have to legitimately leave my house at 11 o'clock at night to walk here, to be here in time to do the show.
You take into account rest periods and all that kind of stuff.
Nope. That's
Hiding from ne'er-do-wells. I mean, I'm guessing you don't go through every good neighborhood.
honestly, from my house to here, it's my neighborhood's fine. Then it's a long walk down Haywood. Then it would be walking on the side of the interstate for about 2 miles. I'm not doing it. Forget all that. I'm a fat ass and I don't want to. All right, that's it. That's it. It's not a wear or consideration about health, safety, and well-being. No. I just am lazy, fat, and don't want to. But the reason I've said that is because Carolina had coming through there, arguably the best quarterback they've had in a long time in Drake May. To me, hands down, the best running back they've had in a long time in Amari and Hampton. They couldn't do it with those guys. They don't have those guys. Those guys are gone. But regardless of the talent on the paper, regardless of the recruiting class, regardless, they are paying Bill Belichick tens of millions of dollars to come in and run this thing like a pro outfit. And right now, whether it's fair or not, whether it's accurate or not, right now, that program is like surrounded by TMZ.
It's exactly what you said it was. It's TMZ interest, because right now, what harm does she cause? It's not like it's third game of the season, she's on the sideline calling plays. I mean, that's different. Not, if she's qualified, fine. If she's down there and she's calling really good plays, no one's going to care. What has she really done other than supposedly disrupt a hit piece on a news show?
So CBS, by the way, to follow up on that, and then I'll answer that question. CBS, by the way, since that whole art or interview dropped, and there was a back and forth about was it the producer of the piece? Somebody affiliated to the creation of that interview said, "Oh, it was worse than that. We cut a lot out of it, but it was worse than that." Again, take that with the whole shaker of salt. But what harm has she done? Ask the great one, and it is a valid question. Here is my argument. Here is why this matters to me. In the year 2025, nothing matters more to any entity at all than the brand. If you want to make money, if you don't care about making money, it's irrelevant. But if you want to make money, nothing matters more than the brand. And I'm talking about your brand, and I'm talking about the brand of whatever, if any, entity you participate in your business under. For the NFL, the brand on the side of your helmet is very important. It is second in importance to the brand of the shield. For North Carolina, the brand is immensely important. And North Carolina's got one advantage that has kept them relevant for as long as they've been relevant. The Jordan affiliation, for instance. That baby blue with the Jumpman logo is iconic. And so right now, whether she has done anything intentional or not, the one thing that I would answer if you say what harm has she done is the brand looks bad right now. What it looks like to me is like you have a 70-plus-year-old coach who is in his first year in this sport, not in football, but in college football, who appears to be having all of the decisions pulled around. And there was a guy who posted screenshots on X where he made a joke about Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson, and within 10 minutes, did not tag anybody in it. Within 10 minutes, found himself blocked by the North Carolina football page. Well, what's the accusation about Jordan Hudson? She runs the social media for the football team now. Saw something about herself and just starts blocking fans, right? What harm's being done? Forget Bill. the brand itself right now. Now, can Bill fix that by going 10-2 and winning the ACC? You're gosh darn right he can.
The football team has no brand. I know you're talking about the university overall, but the football team has no brand. It has no real history. I think Spurrier won a title with Duke, and that's about it in that area. What has North Carolina ever done in football?
I mean, it's not unfair. It's not unfair. But if I'm paying tens of millions of dollars to the guy to come down here and run it this way, and this is the clown show I'm getting right now, I can't. It's not it, man. It's not it. All right, we'll talk more about that later in the show. Maybe we'll see. I don't even know. Are you guys even interested in that story? Is anybody even following that story but me, or am I just being a diva right now? Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Opinions, analysis, and all rolled into one sports talk show. This is the Rob
Be right back, dude. the Fan Upstate, Rob Lonzo and you. I did not know, honestly, how to address the comments of Draymond Green from last week. Because obviously it's a very sensitive issue. If you missed it, after the last win by the Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green was in the locker room, a game in which he fouled out of. There have been some physical interactions between Draymond and the Timberwolves. A couple of shots that were, let's say, questionable. And Draymond went into the locker room and put up a social media clip where he said he was tired of the narrative. He said, y'all are twisting the narrative to try to make me look like, quote, an angry black man, end quote. And again, racial sensitivities being what they are, I told Lonzo on Friday, there's part of me that wants to address this. And while this is unbecoming of a sports talk radio host, there's a part of me that's a little afraid to, honestly, because I am a 40-year-old white guy. It is not my place to tell an African-American man what they may and may not believe or feel about any narrative. But I thought about it over the weekend. And the spot that I landed on was this. Draymond, we all own TVs, dude. Right? Like we see you. Playing physical basketball. Playing, I would even go so far as to say violent basketball is something that we celebrate, honestly. Back in the day, Shaquille O'Neal, one of my favorite players as a cheerin', used to devastate dudes in the paint. Shaquille O'Neal used to take all 7'2", 340 pounds of big dude and just lay into guys. Shaq was the definition of play through his chest. And we loved Shaquille O'Neal, and like nationally. So I grew up in the South. Shaq Daddy went to LSU. There was an affection for Shaq in my family. You can speak on a different part of the country. Do the people love Shaq where you were from? And I know we spent some time in Seatown as a Cavaliers, but outside of that, do they like Shaq predominantly?
Everybody loves Shaq.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just one of those guys. And we've never really seen anyone like him. I mean, you can talk about the big men in the past, but not like him.
There's not. I mean, there's not.
That dude's a monster.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen anyone since either. When he started breaking backboards and they had to reinforce because of him. I mean, there's a couple other guys too, but mostly because of him. That was scary and really kind of cool.
Shaquille O'Neal was a different breed of cat. Shaquille O'Neal played violent basketball underneath. Shaquille O'Neal, like I said, was the definition of play through his chest. That was the type of dude that, definition of attacked. If you stood between Shaquille O'Neal and the rim, you could expect that Shaquille O'Neal was willing to Thanos you to get the ball to the glass, right? And Shaq never got accused of anything. In fact, quite the opposite. Shaq was celebrated for the way that he played basketball. So I think what really bothered me about this Draymond thing is the fact that Draymond, it's not that you play violently. It's that you are violent, right? It's not that you play. We celebrate guys also, who play violently.
His violence is cheap. It's not get out of my way. Here I come, like with Shaq. I mean, he's kicking here and there, he's punching here and
Yeah,
there.
but
and
like
stuff that.
get out of my way, here I come is playing violently. Draymond, and I don't remember who it was that was guarding him in game 3. Draymond was outside of the 3-point line, back to basket, had the ball up and away, and it wasn't Edwards. I don't remember who it was that was out there guarding him. But somebody got a hand up inside of his and knocked the ball away. And he did this thing where, like, he spun around like he still had the ball, and he was trying to raise the ball up over the hand of the defender. He spins around and straight up backspinning hammer fist a dude in the face. And the issue is that he then goes and he tries to sell that as if, oh, well, he was fouling me and I was trying to get the ball away and I lost the ball. So it was just my fist spinning backwards. It's like, dude, no one is going to get after you for playing physical and violent basketball. Quite the opposite. If you play physical and violent basketball, and you play it aggressively, we will celebrate you. The problem is, we have watched you put a foot through a dude's chest before. We have watched you kick out your leg and catch a dude in the gonads before. Now we have watched you throw what is in MMA a devastating move if it connects because a guy tipped the ball out of your hands. We have watched you do this stuff, and that is not playing aggressive basketball. Again, I would be the first in line, much like I do with Nikola Jokic. I wouldn't say Jokic's game is violent. I would say Nikola Jokic has a tendency, if he sees even the slightest shimmer of hardwood between he and the glass, he's getting to the glass. And I love watching that dude play. We celebrate aggressive basketball. The second problem I have, if I may go Liberob the woke warrior on you all for just a minute, is that I absolutely believe that there are still places where racism is a major problem in sports. I still believe that there are pools of racism in sports that need to be addressed, need to be dealt with, need to be eradicated from sport. The problem is, and again, I may be speaking out of turn as an average 40-year-old white guy who's never really had to struggle before. The problem is when you say something like that, oh, they're only after me because they want to portray me as a violent black man. No, Draymond. They're after you because you are throwing backwards haymakers at players. That's dangerous. That's bad. What ends up happening is when a spot pops up where there is legitimate racism that needs to be addressed, this, unfortunately, makes it more difficult to do that because this comes up. Oh, yeah. Is it really racism? Or is someone like Draymond just playing the victim card? No, there are spots. Donald Sterling a few years ago, and I know it's an older example, but it's the most, I think, impactful. Donald Sterling a few years ago made it proof positive that there are still places in sports where racism is a problem. Put it on the front page of the news for us. It needs to be addressed. But, Draymond, when you say something like this, you make those points harder to defend. Is it really racism or is it just somebody playing the victim card? In this case, It's somebody playing the victim card. If Draymond Green played basketball the way Draymond Green plays basketball, anywhere else in America, he'd be in jail. Now, there is one problem for Draymond Green. The problem is Draymond Green as a basketball player, he's okay, right? Like, he's okay. He's not great. He's solid. He's okay. Draymond Green's value to the Golden State Warriors is not as a power forward. Draymond Green's value as a player to the Golden State Warriors is what? He can get inside the heads of dudes. He can get inside your head and he can live there rent-free for a couple of quarters. He can get inside your head and make you change the way that you play basketball. He can create a world in which you are on the floor for your team and the only thing you are thinking about is Draymond Green, because Draymond Green is always going to be in your grill. He creates value by being that guy. And so there's kind of this spot where I'm going to put him into the same place that I put Jim Harbaugh a couple of years ago. Draymond, you just got to be the heel, dude. You just got to be the bad guy. Because that's what gives you value. That's what makes you impactful. Do I like it? No. Do I think it's the right way to play basketball? No. But you know what I do recognize? You're an NBA player for a reason. You're an NBA player on a championship team for a reason. You're an NBA player that despite in playoff games, I can count on for like 8 points. And I don't know what the percentage of games where Draymond Green gets out-rebounded by Steph Curry is, but it's in the double digits. Like, you're not putting numbers on the stat sheet that are blowing anybody away. You're not putting numbers on the stat sheet that have anybody going, oh, this guy's untouchable. This guy's incredible. Like, you're not that good. What you do is play a game that prevents the other team from being able to solely dial in 100% on the game. They can't just lock in on the game. They've always got to be worried about where's Draymond coming from and what's he going to do next. That's your value. Texter said to me, Draymond is the current day Rodman. Yes and no. You hear Dennis Rodman, you think about the colorful hair and the wedding dress and the marriage to Carmen Electra. Congrats on that, by the way.
And the kick to the cameraman.
And the kick to the cameraman in the groin. But the difference between Draymond and Rodman, and that's fair, but the difference between Draymond and Dennis Rodman is that Rodman was pulling me down 15, 16, 17 boards a game. Draymond is with some level of regularity out-rebounded by his shooting guard. That's not the spot.
Draymond isn't in the NWO.
And also Draymond isn't in the NWO. He has gotten involved a couple of times, hasn't he? Hasn't he showed up in a ring a couple of times?
I don't know.
I think he has. And if he hasn't, he absolutely will. But that's it. Not only did Dennis Rodman show up, he went straight to the heel faction, right? There was no come out in Chicago with the face, come out with the good guy, get your cheers, get your cheap pop. No. Straight to the bad guys. That's you, Draymond. This has nothing to do with trying to make you look like an angry black man. And everything to do with the fact that you are throwing MMA moves at dudes on a basketball court and then pretend like you're not doing it. You understand how much more respect we'd have for you if you came out afterwards and you were like, oh, what you want me to say? I was trying to get the ball back and I punched him in the face. Guess he'll be a little more careful about reaching for the ball next time, won't he?
Pretty sweet spin move. Didn't know I was fast, did you?
Yeah. Like, just accept it. But again, there is absolutely racism in sports that needs to be addressed. But when you come out and say stuff like this, it makes it harder to do that for guys like me who want to. Draymond, nothing to do with your color. Everything to do with that. You're a violent person, man. Please don't hurt me. Now, please don't hurt me. I was going to make a joke about pleasure there, but it was going to sound weird, so I'm just going to say sports flash.
Wow, you didn't even need to say that much. I'm also in pain. The OKC Thunder have tied their series with the Nuggets at 2 games apiece with a 92-87 win in Denver. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander had 25. I'm so proud of myself. While Isaiah Hartenstein added 14 boards. I've never said that name right. Nikola Jokic had 27 for Denver, but shot 7 of 22 from the field. The Indiana Spurs have pushed the Cavaliers to the brink of elimination with a 129-109 win for a 3-1 series victory. Pascal Siakam had 21. Miles Turner had 20, and Obi Toppin had added 20 off the bench. Pacers had 80 points at the half. And tied for the most in NBA history with 80. With the 2017 Celtics, the Atlanta Braves dropped 2 of 3 against Pittsburgh, ending the series with a 4-3 loss yesterday. Chris Sale gave up 8 hits and 3 runs and struck out 8 in 5.2 innings.
If you're on 29, you have to increase population.
All right, I'm not ready to be silly. I need to stay in PR so I don't. Do that.
From the News Talk 98.9 WOID Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on the Fan, upstate.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-777-1225. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old,
I didn't purposefully avoid the conversation because of it being controversial. I'm not really talking a whole lot right now because I'm having trouble breathing. So, I mean, there's that.
He's like you. He's only on number 2.
Or did I do it on purpose? I don't know.
800-777-1225. That's 800-777-1225. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Blue at 800-777-1225. 800-777-1225. Welcome to the English.
You hear a rattle when you're breathing, and you get older, and then you lay there like most of the day thinking about your mortality and how, you're mortal. Gets in your head.
It's in your head. Why you guys sound like you're in a tin can? Uh-oh.
Steven said that last week too, but we haven't had anybody else have that problem. And maybe that we both are snotty.
It could be.
I mean,
let's see.
Whole lot of snot in this room right now.
It could be. No, we actually do.
Whole lot of snot in this room.
It sounds like we're coming through like a different mic.
Yeah, it does. I don't know, unless the afternoon show had them change.
You don't even sound like you're talking into a microphone. You're coming through.
I don't know.
Are buttons right?
Do you think it's coming through that camera, maybe?
You don't even sound like you're talking into a microphone. You're coming through. Well, my mic's off, so if it is, it's coming through yours.
No, I'm talking about that new
Yeah. Well, my mic's off, so if it is, it's coming through yours. Yep, that's exactly what it is. It needs to be coming through.
Okay, is that better, Steven?
Yep. Exactly what it was.
Everything sounds like that to me right now. So, I mean, but I definitely could hear the improvement.
Thank you, Steven. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show starts now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. Be a part of the radio program by shooting us a text on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line at 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. You can also use that same number to call the show. Get on the air, 844-326-3663. You can shoot us a tweet at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word, if you want to come at us in that direction, or everybody up in her at The Fan Upstate on the X. And if you got something long format and you don't want to come on the air with it, I got you. The email's open, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. All the different ways for you to get in touch with and be a part of the radio program. Hookset and Reel said, hey, Rob, were you a guest on a show yesterday? He kept saying Rob Brown, but it did not sound like you. No, I was not yesterday unless somebody replayed something, which is possible. I was on 4 different shows this weekend. Am I patting myself on the back? Yes.
I get all that, but just say no sometime. I mean, it's okay.
No, I like the attention. What do you want? I like the validation, When you get national hosts calling up and going, "Hey man, heard you on so and so. Would you mind coming on and talking about?"
It's borderline addiction. I just want to say that it just seems like it might be addicted to going on the radio. And I don't know that there's any harmful, repercussions for doing that. It just seems like, there's an addiction there.
On the list of things to be addicted to, talking about football, probably one of the better ones, I would think. I that I'm aware of, I haven't really been addicted to anything else, or at least much else, and certainly nothing that's going to kill me. So if my addiction is Sean Levine says, hey, will you come on and talk Knicks Celtics with me? Yeah, I'm going to say yeah to that. For the record, my wife feels the same way, though. We'll get done with the show on Saturday at 4. And she came into the Bro Cave because we were going to get caught up on Righteous Gemstones. And so she came into the room. Show ended at 4. She came into the Bro Cave at like 4:05, set up her blankie and her pillow and her heating pad because we're 40 and we both lay on heating pads all the time.
You could have left that last part out.
That's all right. I admit it. I do the same thing. I got one on the bed and I got one in the Bro Cave. I have 2 heating pads. I have heating pads for each room.
They have a smell that bothers me. The heating pad. It must just be.
It might just be you.
Something. No.
Might just be you.
It could be. I am weird.
I am 100% a heating pad bro in my later years. So she comes in, she gets all set up, and she's like, "Can we start the show?" And I was like, yeah, not yet. Gotta jump on the air with Sean Levine here in about 10 minutes." And she goes, "Another one?" I was like, yeah. But you know what? I am a firm believer that saying the right things on the right radio waves at the right time with the right person listening, and who knows? At some point, the Rob Brown Show goes national. At some point, Greenville, South Carolina is the region of emanation for this show to go national. All right? I believe we can do this. So yes, I'm going to say yes to everything. By the way, anybody out there in the area that does a podcast and you want me on, shoot me an email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I'll do your pod.
Hey man, you got one of them there podcasts?
I'll do your pod. I love doing podcasts. I will tell you, as a couple of y'all have learned so far, you got to let me know the rules of the pod before the pod starts, though. You got to let me know what's acceptable on the pod. All right? You got to let me know what flies. All right. 7 to 5 in the AM portion of the day, which means it is time for us to tell you about the 3 most important sports headlines when you get to the office this AM. This is what you'll be talking about, and we wrap it all up nicely in a little package we call the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying, "It's not my fault!" They take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet on the Fan Upstate.
I can't breathe. This is...
Yeah, me neither.
I can't breathe.
Okay.
This is terrible.
Breathe. Just breathe. Yeah, don't do that, though. I mean, you be tactical.
The tactical cough button has been getting a bleeping workout this morning, man. Jacob said addicted or obsessed. Let's go with obsessed. Addicted makes it sound bad. Obsessed.
Oh, yeah, obsessed is a much better word.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. To the NBA we go for item number 1. 92-87, the Oklahoma City Thunder down the Denver Nuggets in Game 4. They bring that series level at 2 games apiece, heading back to the OKC for Game number 5. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 25.6 boards and 6 assists. You got 10 out of Jalen Williams, the only other starter in double digits, but you ended up with 35 off the bench. You got 10 from Caruso, 11 from Wiggins, 11 from Kaysen Wallace. The Thunder won the battle of the twos. This was not the offensive explosion that we got out of OKC in game number 2 that let everybody believe, maybe the series is over. Game number 3, back in Denver, back at the Mile High. Denver gets one back, even though, by the way, did you watch the end of that game? Nikola Jokic couldn't hit water from a boat in that game. And the Denver Nuggets still found a way to get it done in Game 3. So the pressure stacked on OKC in Game 4. And they did not have the offensive output that we got used to. They did not have the offensive output that we frankly expected, but it didn't matter because the Thunder leaned on what actually got them here, which was the defense. They kept Denver to 31% from the floor on 25 of 80 shooting. They held them to 24% from 3, 11 of 45, and perhaps the most important number of all, how many times have I said it? How many more times will I say it? To every young hooper out there listening to Uncle Rob, make your free throws. 26 of 36. They lost by 5. 26 of 36 from the charity stripe. They lost by 5. If Denver makes half of what they missed, it's at least a tie ball game. The Thunder, by the way, 20 of 26 from the stripe. So that one ends with OKC grabbing a defensively mandated dub before they head back to back home. 129-109, the Pacers over the Cavaliers in this one. It got a little dicey there for a couple of minutes. This was a physical and intense game. Pascal Siakam had 21. Miles Turner, Obi Toppin each scored 20. The Pacers tied an NBA playoff record with a 41-point halftime lead before blowing out the Cavs 129-109 to take a 3-1 series lead. The Pacers had a different level of intensity in this one, and they had to do it without Benedict Mathurin, one of their best scorers, ejected for a flagrant 2 just 7.5 minutes into the game. With Donovan Mitchell missing the second half because of an injured left ankle, the Cavs just had no chance. Mathurin got into it a little bit outside of the free throw line, 3-point line, ended up shoving one of the Cavaliers to the ground after what he believed to be a cheap shot that was uncalled down in the paint, decided that there was revenge to be had, and then ended up going full offensive guard pass protection outside of the 3-point line, ends up ejected from the game, and you could see Indy kind of rallied at that spot. It was like, all right, you're taking that guy from us. Everybody else is going to have to pick it up, and they did. The Pacers get the dub. They have pushed Cleveland, the 1 seed, to the brink of elimination. We will check back in on those NBA series and those 2 individual games later on in the show, but let us get to item number 2. 5-2, the Stars knock off the Jets last night. Winnipeg now in a 2-1 hole against the Dallas Stars. Rube Hintz, Wyatt Johnston, and Mikko Rantanen all scored for the Dallas Stars last night, along with Thomas Harley and Alexander Petrovic. Jake Ottinger, who had been under assault in the last couple of games, and this is the statistic that jumped off the page at me last night. Otter had been facing upwards of 27 shots on goal from Winnipeg the last couple of nights. Just 25 shots against in this one. He saved all but a pair of them, including 5 power play shots on goal from Winnipeg. Dallas just last night, a more intense team, defensively able to lock the edge down and prevent Winnipeg from ever getting going. Speaking of defensive, goodness gracious, this Florida-Toronto series is an MMA fight on skates, dude. It's unbelievable. 2-0. The Florida Panthers knock off Toronto. They have tied the series at 2 apiece. Sam Bennett got a goal. Carter Verhaeghe got a goal. When it came these last 2 games between these 2 teams, when it comes to violence on ice, this is it. This is it. Cody Decker, not a big hockey guy. On Saturday, I was on the air with Decker, and I have been trying for like 3 years now to get Decker into hockey, and because Deck's got that Deck's got a little bit of that crazy streak in him. 2 years I've been trying to get Cody Decker into hockey. He's been unwilling to do it. Start the show Saturday. We're not 5 minutes into it, and he goes, "I owe you an apology." And I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "Because I watched Toronto v. Florida. Hockey's awesome." I went, "Yeah, no, I know. I've been trying to tell you." Now, what I didn't have the heart to tell him was this series hits different. And by hits different, I mean hard. These 2 teams are beating the absolute and ever-loving you-know-what out of each other. And it is a blast to watch. If you have not checked into the series, it's going 7. And some of these guys may not make it to Game 7 the way that they are beating the absolute tar out of each other. Let's get to item number 3. Couple of stories out of the world of baseball to keep your eye on. We will start with the fact that, hey, it's only May, Rob. It's only May. The Braves lost 2 out of the 3 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They dropped yesterday's Mother's Day game 4-3. Chris Sale, who had been pitching relatively well the last couple of weeks, 5.2 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Another game as Chris Sale is now sitting at let's see, his record, last I checked, I think he had 3 losses on it. Yeah, 1-3 now. Chris Sale, working an ERA sitting around 3.5, has pitched more than well enough to be 3-1 and just can't get the run support. The Atlanta Braves had 8 hits yesterday. Okay, cool. That's better than the 1, 2, 3 they've been turning in.
Problem is, they get guys on base and then they do nothing. If I told you that the Braves had 8 hits yesterday, you would make the assumption, I would hope, that they would have had 9 opportunities for at-bats with runners in scoring position. Yeah, they had 3. They got runners into scoring positions for an at-bat 3 times yesterday. Yesterday, they went out and made Carmen Blodzinski, who is 1-4 after the win, with a 5.2 ERA, and is tied for 126th in baseball for strikeouts from the bump. Made that guy look like a bleeping all-star. Blodzinski went 5.2, 4 hits, 0 runs, 2 Ks. Stop telling me it's all okay. Stop telling me it's fine, it's May.
All right, so I needed to do something that I don't normally do. I looked at the MLB standings, and it's everything you're saying makes me say so. They're not. I mean, dude, they're not even in last place. There are a bunch of teams that are worse than them. The teams ahead of them in their division, the Mets have a 7-game lead. You're not even a quarter of the way through the season. Find some joy. I find some joy. It's okay to be to be optimistic. It's okay. It's all right. It's not. I don't think it's going to burn you. It could, but I don't think it will.
The Pirates are ass. The Pirates fired their manager a few days ago because they're booty.
Not as bad as the Rockies.
The Rockies are historically bad.
Right.
Also fired their manager yesterday, Bud Black, by the way. Historically bad. The Pirates are a bad baseball team.
Braves are also better than the Marlins. They're better than the Nationals.
I'm
looking at the record. Yes, I'm looking at the record. Because that's what you're talking about. You're talking about the record.
Here's the problem you bump into with me on this conversation. If I'm a Saints fan and you say, well, you're not last in the division.
Theoretically.
If I'm a Saints fan, theoretically.
You see that thing I sent you from on X?
I have not.
This was yesterday.
If I am I'm going to go find it.
The worst quarterback room in the NFL, supposedly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the Saints. I just wanted to make sure you actually read something.
I'll yell about that later. If I am a Saints fan and we finish the year not in last in the NFC South, sure, I'll have some, hey, that's nice. This team is not just underperforming. This team is embarrassingly underperforming. If we got to the end of the NFL season and Lonzo's Kansas City Chiefs behind Patrick Mahomes, short odds to win the Super Bowl, finished the year 5-12 with losses to New Orleans and I don't know, pick your terrible teams here. The Browns. I would not have it in me to look at Lonzo and go, find some joy. Find some joy. You're 5-12. You were supposed to be a Super Bowl contender, and instead you embarrassed yourself.
Right. The equivalent of this in season would be after 4 games. I mean, and not even 4, it'd be like 3.5 games. They haven't even played a quarter of the season yet, and they're not in last place.
If after 4, the Chiefs were 1-3 with losses to the Browns, Panthers, and Saints, you would come in here and go, I'm disappointed.
I think 2 years ago they were like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then let guy who knows baseball tell you this team's not coming back.
No,
there's no positivity here. There's no rebound.
Not guy who knows baseball. This is guy who just wants to be negative about his team.
Yeah, you know me. Historically, there's nothing I love more than being negative. This team
about the
stinks.
Braves. Yeah,
this
for sure.
team stinks.
I mean,
it stinks.
Been on the air going on 5 years together or something like that, and a handful of times you've been positive about the Braves.
Give me anything.
Even when they've had a great season?
I had the lead baseball writer from The Athletic on the show on Saturday. You know what he said? When I said, hey,
You can't name drop if you don't say his name. I'm just saying.
Keith Law, senior baseball writer for The Athletic.
I know that guy.
Keith Law was on my show Saturday. I said, hey, is there any bounce back here for the Braves? And he said, I'm not saying it would take a miracle, but it's going to take something real close to it. So it's not just me.
Wow, baseball
this team
people, man.
Stinks.
Man, you guys are negative.
You just dropped 2 out of the 3 to the Pirates. I don't know what to tell you. It stinks. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Yes, correct, Jacob. The correct answer is both. And by the way, that Saturday interview that I had to delay the Righteous Gemstones was 11 minutes.
Yeah, that's an eternity when someone's ready.
I mean, that's not unfair.
He talked about all the preparations that were made. She's ready to watch. She's ready to watch.
Excuse me for just a minute, y'all. Texter said all Braves fans are negative about the Braves. Yeah, if you watch this team at all, they are.
I am guessing during the seasons that they've won the World Series, you've been also negative. Oh, just waiting for. Oh, there we go. They lost the game. It's over now. Oh no. Oh no. No way we win. No.
Dropping a series against a team like Pittsburgh is unacceptable. It's just unacceptable for a team that, despite what was going on, came into this series with the fourth shortest and dropping, but fourth shortest odds to win the World Series. To drop this series against Pittsburgh is inexcusable. And it is not just that you lost. It is how this team continues to lose. It is tragic decision making. It is a complete breakdown of fundamental baseball from guys that are seasoned veterans and expected to be cornerstones of the squad. Let me see if I can illustrate for you one of the biggest issues that I'm struggling with right now. In a game last week, the Braves found themselves once again up against the Cincinnati Reds with an opportunity to find some last inning magic. The Braves had a bad hitter at the plate and an opportunity to go with one of a few guys off the bench in a pinch hit situation with 2 outs, a runner on, down 1. Sean Murphy was available. Now, Sean Murphy has been playing good baseball, hitting about 275. Not great, but good baseball. And Sean Murphy has already come up with, I believe, 2 or 3 walk-off hits for Atlanta this year. So a guy that has been in that situation and thrived multiple times this season. They had off the bench Eli White, who has been good, batting .285 in his last 7 games, is seeing and hitting the ball relatively well. And then you had Eddie Rosario, who was in his last 7 days 0 for 4 with 2 Ks and a couple of weak-ass groundouts. Eddie Rosario, who was not on a baseball team to start this season. Eddie Rosario, who was picked up effectively as an unsigned free agent. Now, I love Eddie Rosario, and I appreciate what he did in the run-up to the Braves 2021 World Series.
Wow, because everything you just said about him made it sound like that's a bad player.
He is a bad player in 2025, which is, and I've done the research, the year that it is. Right now. It is that year now, today. So
I can confirm you're correct.
Thank you very much. So Brian Snicker, with a guy batting about 275, who has been successful in 2 or 3 walk-off spots so far. A guy batting 285 in the last week with a couple of big dongs. And a guy who in the last 7 days was 0 for 4 with 2 Ks and 2 weak groundouts. Without knowing anything about him. I won't even ask you, who would you not send up in that situation? And maybe I'm a big fat dummy, I wouldn't send up the guy that is 0 for 4 with 2 Ks and 2 weak-ass groundouts. That's the one guy I wouldn't send up. Who did Brian Snicker send up? That guy. He K'd. We lose the game. They go to the post-game press conference. Out comes Brian Snicker. They said, hey, Snit, quick question. With White on the bench, with Murphy on the bench, why'd you go with Eddie Rosario? Do you know what his answer was? His answer was, because we wanted to see if we could recapture some of that magic. from 2021? You wanted to see if you could recapture the magic in 2025.
Magic is timeless.
Magic's not real. It's not real. It's not a thing. Okay? You can feel magical. I've stood on the edge of the Grand Canyon, looked off into the abyss. It felt magic. I've stood inside the cathedral at Notre Dame in Paris, France, and heard a choir singing. It felt magic. But magic isn't real. And if you're going to say that you're going to manage this baseball team by magic, at least do like 2025 magic. You went with 2020. That's stale magic. That magic's old. That magic's got mold on it. You got to throw that magic out. Put that magic in the dump. It's done. That magic's cooked. I'll be real. That magic from 2021 felt magical. It did. All the stars aligned metaphorically. I routinely point out to people, the LA Dodgers were a better baseball team than the Atlanta Braves, but they weren't great on the road. The Atlanta Braves had the opportunity for the 106 win LA Dodgers to come to Atlanta because they were the wild card team. Why? Because the Giants won 107 games that year and then got bounced. The Braves, and I say this as somebody who is still celebrating it, have a 2021 World Series champion bumper sticker on the car. Went to Atlanta for a game just to buy the 2021 Atlanta Braves World Series champions commemorative cap, limited edition. Hangs in the bro cave. I won't even wear that hat because I don't want to sweat stain it on accident because I'm a big fat slob. And I don't want to ruin it. I will celebrate that World Series till I die because I was relatively convinced I was never going to see another one. And I did get to see another one, and it was amazing. And it was also wildly lucky for us. Wildly lucky for us. We were lucky everything lined up the way it did. But it is 2025. It is 4 years later. And I've got my manager out here saying that his decision-making process of who to send to the dish in a game that would get you back to 500, give you some warm fuzzies, give you some feel-goods, some make you feel all rights. I got him deciding who to send up with a legitimate shot at a walk-off victory based on magic. Not just magic, magic from 2021 magic. No! We're cooked. Snit is cooked. The Braves are cooked. This isn't negative. This is, I've watched them play 10 out of the last 10 games. I'm going to say this lovingly. I know what I'm talking about. This team's got no plate discipline. It's got no aggression. It's got no mental strength. It's got no middle relief. It's barely got a closer. And I got a manager that said, well, this guy was good in 2021. Maybe he's the right guy for the job in 2025, snit. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Eddie hasn't been good since the 2021 run. Correct. That's why he was not on a baseball team. I just said that, Sports Flash guy. All right, give me just a minute, guys. Be right back. as a heel would be gold. The University of Arkansas is the beneficiary of a new state law that Arkansas has passed. Arkansas, the first state to adopt a law that exempts NIL payments from state taxes. And the bill applies retroactively to all deals made on or before January 1st of 2025. That was reported by Channel 5 News out of Fayetteville, Arkansas over the weekend. The law was signed amidst controversy between the University of Arkansas's NIL collective and a player who joined the transfer portal just months after arriving on campus. That is the byline. On Thursday, April 17th, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders signed over 100 bills into law, one of which passed exemptions for name, image, and likeness deals for athletes in the state, known as House Bill 1917. It amended the Arkansas Student Athlete Publicity Rights Act to exempt the deals from state taxation and freedom of information request. The bill's sponsor and president pro tempore of the Arkansas State Senate, Bart Hester, said the tax break only applies to payments made directly by the universities. Hester said, quote, "It's only what the university does and what they consider part of revenue sharing. If someone goes out to the local car dealership and gets $1 million deal, they're responsible to pay income taxes on that. But what they receive from the university will not." The goal of the bill, according to Hester, was to help make Arkansas a more competitive option for recruits when choosing where to play. He said, quote, "This bill is all about competition, doing our best to make sure that Arkansas athletes, people that choose to come educate and be part of our system, have the best opportunity to be successful." The act was signed just before a move by the University of Arkansas's NIL collective, Arkansas Edge, which is reportedly seeking the return of around $200,000 from a quarterback who entered the transfer portal just months after arriving on campus. Fayetteville attorney Adam Rose said the exemption of disclosure of payments under FOIA helps protect student athletes. Rose said, quote, "These are still typically younger adults. I don't think they want their information to get out there. And if people have access to them, especially, some of these people have millions and millions of followers. And so you're talking about a lot of exposure for young people." Okay. I mean, again, we talked last week about the discussion that Nick Saban had with Donald Trump and the fact that Donald Trump said that he is considering an executive order that would try to streamline NIL and do so at a federal level. One of the issues we talked about was the fact that executive orders do not, by default, override state or federal laws. An executive order, by definition, an executive order is just an order on how entities under the executive branch will perform, what entities under the executive branch will do or not do. So I don't know how much power an EO regarding NIL would have. What I do know is that it does not override state and federal laws, so it does not shock me that Arkansas jumped out ahead of this and said, well, let's just go ahead and get this one on the books. As far as the FOIA goes, the Freedom of Information Act, NIL payments, revenue sharing from the schools are free of FOIA requests. You cannot, you can ask, but they don't have to give you the amount or whomst to the revenue sharing payment was given. I don't love that. I don't love that, especially for state colleges and state universities. I think state colleges and state universities should be obligated to be very transparent in where their funds are going, and I do include, even though I am very pro NIL for players, I do think if you are receiving money from a state college or state university, a publicly funded college or university, that the distribution of those funds should be public. I also think to some degree there may be an ulterior motive to that, and that is to prevent people from finding out, because again, there are going to be laws and regulations via the House settlement about how that money must be distributed. Under Title IX, X percent of that money will be obligated to be distributed to female athletes on campus, et cetera, et cetera. And I do wonder if this is a way to prevent that information being distributed to the general public, to prevent controversy. But as far as exempting the state of Arkansas, exempting college revenue sharing dollars from being taxed, like, it doesn't really matter how I feel about it, right? Like, this is one of those spots where the state has the right to run its university and its own budget the way that it sees fit. And if it says that we're more concerned about making sure that our football program has an opportunity, has a chance to get as many talented players here as we can, and if we can give ourselves an edge by not putting a state income tax on NIL money from the school, distributed revenue from the school to the players, and we can tell players, hey, if you go to, and I do not know what states are or are not, if you go to state X and they give you the same deal, you're going to make less money because they are also going to give you that money, but then tax it for state income. We're not going to do that. They have the right to do that. And if the people in the state of Arkansas say unacceptable, not okay, they can vote those people out of there. They can vote people in who will say, yeah, no, we are absolutely, that is income from the college, and you are going to be taxed and asked to put into the system that you are benefiting from, the same as everybody else. But it's their state, it's their right. I'm not going to change my mind on how I feel about that philosophically because of the fact that it has to do with NIL. It has to do with college football players. Whatever. It's their state. It's their right. And if they don't like it, then they can vote the people out who approved of this and vote people in who won't. That's really the whole philosophical discussion to me. I'm not worried about it. It's their call. So when I saw this come down, the very first thought that I had was, and this is why. This is why people were upset at the NCAA for instituting name, image, and likeness, but not doing it with guidelines, with rules, with protocols, with regulations. This is the reason why. Because some states are going to make it easier for their team to thrive in an NIL world, and some teams are not. And this isn't a college football or college athletics unique reality. There have been a few, I don't know the number. Tom Brady is thought to be one of them. There are a few professional athletics free agents who may have made their decision to go to certain teams based on the fact that some states don't have a state income tax. My home state of Florida does not have a state income tax. So a $30 million paycheck in Florida is worth more than a $30 million paycheck in South Carolina. A $30 million paycheck in Florida is worth more than a $30 million paycheck in California. And I would be shocked if there weren't at least a handful of professional athletes who said, all right, I've got an opportunity to go play in Florida, or I've got an opportunity to go play in California. Florida, I'm going to keep X percent. California, I'm going to keep X minus whatever their state income tax is, depending on the bracket. For that high-level bracket, I'd probably stick it at what, maybe 40%? I'm going to lose 40% of my money before I even get it if I play in Cali. I'm going to keep 100% of that money if I play in Florida. This is just the college version of that. That's all this is. And if you feel like it's the state's right to do it, so be it. So be it. I would not be shocked over the next couple of days to see other states who start to discuss and probably enact this for the states that have a state income tax. If South Carolina, Clemson, etc., if the state of South Carolina was to decide that revenue share money being paid by Clemson, being paid by South Carolina to its players was eligible for the state income tax. And I'll keep it a buck with you. I'm not an economist. I don't know what South Carolina's state income tax brackets look like. But I'd imagine for a lot of, not all.
We have to pay a lot, or so it seems.
It feels that way. That might just be because we work in radio. Who knows? But I would assume that many of the kids this is going to impact probably going to be making more money than Lonzo and I. Probably in a higher tax bracket. And so if they're in a tax bracket that's going to charge them 18, 20, 22, 24% of their revenue distribution check in state income tax, and Arkansas calls and says, hey, we'll give you the exact same revenue share dollar bill, but there's no state income tax on our dollars. For kids, whomst money is the primary motivator of their college football destination decision. They go to Arkansas. I'm going to get that much out of NIL, and I get to keep 100% of it versus having to give 10, 12, 16, 18, 20, 22% of it back in other states.
No offense, Arkansas, but if you choose Arkansas, it's obvious you're going there because of this.
I mean,
yeah, I meant offense, Arkansas.
You meant offense. Thank you. Thank you. I've been through Arkansas. I've never stopped in Arkansas. I didn't see any reason to stop in Arkansas. Well, my dad was driving the RV, but he didn't see any reason to stop in Arkansas. I think we stopped in.
Maybe you could yell pig suey.
I think we stopped in Little Rock because one of them, if I recall correctly, judge away. One of them had at the time, I don't know if it's still there, but one of them had the nation's largest Cabela's / Bass Pro Shop. And we wanted to see that. Tourist destination, baby. But I think that was it for Arkansas. I think Arkansas was a drive-through state.
How much bigger was it?
It was pretty massive.
To make you notice that it was bigger.
It was pretty damn ridiculous.
Okay.
It was the size of I would say it was the size of a large shop, like a large shopping mall. But it was just all hunting and fishing gear.
That's pretty big.
It was big. I think it was there. I could be wrong. Doesn't matter. Point is, Arkansas, which I would, from what I know about it, agree with Lonzo. I don't think Little Rock has got much in the way. I don't think Fayetteville, whoa, Pit Silly!
There it is.
Has a lot going for it in terms of attracting high-level college athletes, high-level college recruits. I don't know what it is about Fayetteville or Little Rock that would say, hey, come here instead of Coral Gables.
Which is why they went to the government and said, hey, it's the only way we're going to get people here. You got to help.
I mean, I don't know how much the University of Arkansas had to do with this decision. I don't know how many of their high-level alums decided to make some phone calls to the folks in charge there in Arkansas. But I do know that somebody did. And the state government of Arkansas said, yeah. It's hard enough to get people to stop making fun of us. It's hard enough to get the best athletes in the country to believe that the University of Arkansas is going to compete with Baton Rouge? Let's get him here. How are we going to do that? Y'all can keep all y'all's money. Y'all can keep all the money. Texas said, are any of these colleges helping kids prepare taxes? Great question. Great question. That's one of the things that even those of us on the NIL side have asked. Texter said, imagine if California did this. Oh, dude, be a lot of people screaming about it. I don't know. It's interesting. All right, we'll talk more about that and more as the show rolls on. I am Rob Brown, and this is the best 60 seconds of your day. It's Alonzo's Sports Flash.
I hope it gets better than this, but it's not going to be that bad. The OKC Thunder have tied their series with the Nuggets at 2 games apiece with 92-87 win in Denver. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander nailed it twice, had 25, while Isaiah Hartenstein added 14 boards. Nikola Jokic had 27 for Denver, but shot 7 of 22 from the field. The Indiana Pacers have pushed the Cleveland Cavaliers to the brink of elimination with a 129-109 win for a 3-1 series victory. Pascal Siakam had 21, Miles Turner had 20, and Obi Toppin added 20 off the bench. The Pacers had 80 points at the half, tied for the most in NBA playoff history with the 2017 Celtics. The Atlanta Braves dropped 2 of 3 against Pittsburgh, ending the series with a 4-3 loss yesterday. Chris Sale gave up 8 hits and 3 runs and struck out 8 in 5.2 innings. The Braves are 19-21 with a 3-game set against Washington at home starting tonight. Sorry. Oh, wow. I've watched the main one, Steven. I haven't seen The Nun or Annabelle, but I'm aware of them. The last one my daughter and I went to see, and I do like them, and I'm looking forward to the next one coming out, and probably she and I will go see it. I know it's based on real people, and I think that makes it also interesting, whether you believe in it or not. Like the naysayer who just walked in the room.
I shan't apologize. Shun the non-believer.
Oh, The Nun looks pretty freaky, and I don't like those kind of dolls. So, yeah, It probably hits Catholics a little bit harder, Stephen, I'm guessing. All the people that I've talked to who had bad experiences with nuns and how angry they actually are. So, yeah.
Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show starts now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. The Hub City Spartanburger text line open. 844-326-3663. 844-FANFONE. You can text that number. You can call that number and jump on the air. You can also shoot us a tweet at the Rob Brown Show. You can also tweet the great one Lonzo at Lonzo on Word, or you can tweet everybody up in here at the Fan Upstate if you'd like to get at us in that direction. And if you got something that's a little more long format, you don't want to come on the air, I got you. Rob.Brown at thefanupstate.com is the email addy. If you want to hit me up there, Rob.Brown at thefanupstate.com. I want to bring up a story that I don't know if it's a story yet or not. And we're going back to baseball for a minute. Not a Braves story. Relax. Not a Braves thing. I may rant more about the Braves later in the show, but I won't right here. Instead, there is and right now it appears to be nothing more than a rumor, but a widely circulated rumor going around that Major League Baseball is about to introduce another new statistic. Now, baseball is very interesting in that it probably has the most, like there is a statistic that is officially tracked for everything. WHIP, WAR, XBH, et cetera, et cetera. Like there are stats for everything. One of the stats that has long been considered pretty much sacred has been home runs. A home run is a home run if the ball goes over the fence, right? It's a pretty classic sports thing, the home run.
Unless there's like inside the park and there's errors.
That is specifically called an inside the park home run. Or if there's errors attached, a little league home run. Those are always funny.
I've never heard it called that before. Okay.
Yeah, little league home run. If you go inside the park homer, and you go inside the park homer because there were like, I don't know if they're what the official stat is or if it's just like linguistic. The inside the park home run caused by errors from the fielding team is a little league home run. But if the ball is hit and it goes over the fence in fair territory and the batter is allowed to trot the base path, touch home, and score a run, it's a home run. Well, Major League Baseball is considering, according to reports and rumors on the internet, adding a new home run stat. The new home run stat would be called a true home run. There's home runs, and then there's true home runs. A true home run would be a home run that would be a home run in half of Major League's baseball parks. Starting in 2026, according to this, MLB will use StatCast technology to provide a separate home run total based on a league-wide ballpark eligibility. Standard home run, obviously, ball goes out of play over the fence in fair territory. A true home run would use StatCast data to determine if a home run clears at least half of all MLB stadiums. It is considered a more rigorous measure of a truly powerful and long hit home run. There are some places, for instance, like Yankee Stadium, where they have what we call a short porch. That is to say, the distance from home plate to the field marker, to the fence, is shorter than it is at most other stadiums. And so if you play, of your 162 games, 81 of them at that field, you have an advantage of hitting a home run in more games and more at bats, especially if you're like an Aaron Judge and that's to your natural swing. Versus if you were to play in some other ballpark. If you were to play in Colorado, it is .415 to center at Colorado. At Fenway Park, it's .420 to right. There are spots where you can hit a ball that's an absolute blast that gets out of the park at every park except for one. But that just happens to be the park you're at that day. There are some fences in Major League Baseball that are so short that it is a home run at that stadium and maybe like one or two others. I'm not against, although a lot of my baseball purist fan friends are, I'm not against keeping the metric of true home run. And I'm not against it.
I'm surprised you, as a dome stadium guy, doesn't advocate that all ballparks have the same.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I absolutely
All
do.
right.
I think it is frankly silly that every baseball diamond is shaped differently. Listen, it's 90 feet to first base. It's 60 feet, 6 inches to the bump. Those are standard at every park. But the fact that we have different outfield sizes at different parks makes no sense to me at all. The fact that a home run at one park isn't a home run at another park is silly to me. And that's why I'm on board with this concept of the true home run stat. They're going to take the average distance, and if your dinger goes further than that distance, it is a true home run. You will still be credited for a home run. At the end of the year, every major league player will have 2 home run stats. They will have HRs and they will have THRs. The THRs are actually well hit balls. A guy like an Aaron Judge who hits at Yankee Stadium. A guy like Aaron Judge who has an 81 game advantage, where it is 318 to left and 314 to right. 314. Aaron Judge is a push-pull hitter. Aaron Judge hitting to right field does not have to hit the ball anywhere as close to the distance of guys who play in just about any other park. To dead center right down the stripe, like if you were to go dead center right down the stripe, Yankee Stadium is 296. 296. So Aaron Judge getting to play 81 baseball games, barring obviously European games, etc., but 81 baseball games at home has a distinct home run mark advantage over somebody who plays at Great American Ballpark, where it's like 325, right? If you hit a ball 300 feet down the right field line, it's gone at Yankee Stadium and pretty much nowhere else. So if Aaron Judge is going to be in the mix at the end of the year for home run leader, but he gets to play 81 games with a 296-foot right field line, well, I don't think it's unfair to track and say, all right, yeah, he hit 56 home runs this year, but 35 of them were true home runs. 18 of them would not have been a home run at other parks because he hits one 298 to right and it gets over. That's a ball that if somebody else on any other team could hit 300 yards or 300 feet consistently, would have 0 home runs, right? Or maybe 2 or 3 because they got a couple of them at Yankee Stadium and that's it. I saw baseball fans yesterday when this story started to make the rounds on the internet, talking about how the unique field dimensions were one of the things that made baseball so special. Like, I guess. Like, I've never walked onto a field with one exception. And I guess this is my exception to the rule. With one exception, there has never been a field that I've looked at, even as a baseball guy. There's never been a field that I looked at and went, oh, the shape of this field is special. The shape of this field, not the stadium, not the fan base, not the traditions, not the food, not the beer. It is the shape of this field that makes it special. The only park that has ever happened to me was Fenway Park with the Monster. That's it. That's the only one.
Yeah, but that had so much mystique to it before you got there.
Exactly. And even that wasn't because of the shape of the field. Even that wasn't because of the Green Monster at Fenway Park. That was just because of the history that has happened at Fenway Park, right? That is the spot that Ted Williams played at. That's the spot of so many classic Yankees-Red Sox games. That's the spot where Babe Ruth pitched against his rivals, pitched for the Red Sox, as a matter of fact. Like, the history that took place on that field was what provided me with the mystique that I felt that day, not the shape of the field. Now, if you ever had, and I will say this, as much as I think baseball stadiums should be uniform, I think every left field wall, I think every right field wall, I think every center field wall should be the same. But that's not going to happen. It's impossible. You can't do that at Fenway Park, for instance. Because if you go to the other side of the Monster, right on the backside, the stands, the stadium, the bleachers, on top of the Green Monster, there's only like 6 or 7 rows of them. And then the stadium drops off and there's a street and there's apartments on the other side. If you hit a home run out of the park to left field, it's hitting somebody's house. Like, it's right there. They can't move that back. There's nowhere to move it to. So I recognize that stadiums being what they are, the only compromise would be as new stadiums are built, we built them to a uniform size. Old stadiums are grandfathered. Any current standing stadium is grandfathered in. But as we build new stadiums, they must have uniform field dimensions. Put that aside. My compromise for now, knowing that it will be 100 years before every Major League Baseball team has a new stadium that can be actively fitted to uniform dimensions across the league. I kind of dig this as a compromise. Yes, Aaron Judge, you are a monster. You are a masher. But how many dingers did you hit out to the short porch at right in Yankee Stadium at 301 feet that would not be a home run anywhere else? That would not be a home run in Detroit. That would not be a home run in Atlanta. That would not be a home run in H-Town. So you get the added benefit of looking like a monster.
Yeah, but not his fault though. I mean,
No, not at all.
He's playing where he's playing.
Not at all. I don't blame him for it. What I am saying is, as a stat nerd, as a numbers nerd, I am intrigued in seeing how many home runs that just got up and over that would not have been a home run in half of Major League's parks. How many of those count towards Aaron Judge's total? This was my whole thing with the steroid era, right? Like I've had this discussion with baseball fans before. I have zero problems with making some sort of mark on the history book of guys who got busted juicing. No problem putting an asterisk. And the pushback I've gotten from a lot of them, for instance, about Barry Bonds, was Barry Bonds was already an elite hitter before the juice. I don't disagree. You know what I would love to know? A statistic that I can't know? Well, I could know, but it would take me a lot, like years of research. How many Barry Bonds home runs got over the fence by a couple of inches? How many Barry Bonds home runs were accompanied by a call of, oh, it just gets out of here? How many home runs? And how many of those home runs would not have been home runs if Barry Bonds wasn't juicing? I agree. He still would have gone down as one of the greatest hitters of all time. However, he would not have gone down as one of the greatest power hitters of all time, because I imagine the home run total would have dropped by 20%, 21%. I got to imagine that at least one or two out of every 10 Barry Bonds swats barely left the crib. It barely left the crib because he had the extra little oomph, extra little pop, extra little, pardon the expression, juice available. If you are playing on a right field fence that is 296 yards, you have an advantage that nobody else has. And if nobody else has it, why not keep up with a stat that tracks fairly across every hitter in Major League Baseball, whether or not they are in that top power slug? I'll tell you what, if I was a power hitter and I was playing in a stadium that had a long outfield, 1,000% I'd want this stat. 1,000% I'd want a true home run stat. All right, baseball fans, where do y'all land? Is this something you're going to care about? Is it something you're going to track? Is it something you're going to pay attention to? Is it something that we should pay attention to? We'll talk more baseball later on in the radio program. When we come back, I got a question for you. I'm going to ask you to admit something about your love of college football that you would not say in front of your fellow fans. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate. How is it only 8:15? Feels like 9:30. Here's hoping. So I was scrolling around Reddit over the weekend because I do not care about my mental health or well-being. And I came across an interesting thread that I wondered if it would be as compelling to you all as it was to me. A user by the name of Holiday Break threw up on Reddit a question mark. What is one college football take you 100% believe but can't say out loud around your own fan base? What is one college football take? And I will even expand this to the National Football League or the NBA, MLB, whatever. What is one sports take that you have about your team that you cannot say around other fans? And when I opened this thread, I was shocked to find over 600 responses to it. I want to give you a couple of them and get your reactions and see if any of them inspire you to come up with one of your own. Bright Yellow Vest is an Ole Miss fan who said, yes, we were faking injuries. That's one of those things that I have heard Ole Miss fans for the past handful of months defending. No, we weren't faking injuries. We would never. Our school is above that. No, you're not. No, you're not. We watched it happen. It was a legitimate strategy to the point that the new SEC guidelines rules about faking injuries, as far as I am concerned, are the Lane Kiffin rules. Okay. A Texas A&M fan by the name of Indian Outlaw said some A&M World War II soldier made a deal with God to get out alive. Price was we go 8-4 for eternity. An Iowa fan said Brian Ferentz was just running Kirk Ferentz's offense. It wasn't just a Brian issue. Of course, you'll remember Brian Ferentz, the son of head coach Kirk Ferentz, was aggressively accelerated to the offensive coordinator's position for Iowa at a point in time that Iowa actually had what looked like a pretty good squad assembled. The offense was atrocious. Brian Ferentz was ultimately fired by his own father from that position. Kirk took back over. Not a lot changed. Iowa fan said, nope, it's on him. How about an Auburn fan chiming in on this thread? His take is, and I quote, "We have some of the dumbest fans in all of college sports." End quote. This Auburn dude took down the entire Auburn fan base. So we have some of the dumbest fans in all of college sports. That one's rough. You ever looked around, Zoe? You ever been like at a game, out watching a game, whatever, and been embarrassed by your own fans? Just been like, oh man. Oh, I got the other day, like 2 weeks ago. The wife and I went to the Haywood Mall. We do a little shopping. Had to find some new polos. Had to find some new golf attire to get out on the links with. And she needed some stuff, so we decided, hey, you know what? As the legendary Robin Sparkles once said, let's go to the mall today.
You said Robin Sparkles.
Robin Sparkles.
Because I didn't know that you were talking about you and her name is now Sparkles.
Hilarious as that would be. No, Robin Sparkles was a I don't know how to describe it. From you ever watch How I Met Your Mother?
Enough of it.
Okay.
And plus, my children have talked about it 10,000 times, so I know all about it.
One of my favorite shows. In it, Kobe Smulders, who plays Maria Hill in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, plays a character named Robin Schabotsky. And back in her teenage years, Robin Schabotsky played a Canadian pop culture singer by the name of Robin Sparkles, who sang songs about being, a regular Canadian teenager, except they're like filled with euphemisms and stuff. It was very funny. Anyway, she sang a song called Let's Go to the Mall Today, along with Alan Thicke, hilariously, and Canadian's number one export, Robin Thicke. So we went to the mall.
Was it Alan or was it Robin?
No, it was Alan.
Okay.
And it was hilarious. So we went to the mall. We got to the mall. I was looking for parking. And, as you always do, you start at the front of the parking lot, hoping you get some princess parking, hoping you get lucky, and you find that spot up towards the front of the lane, and then you work your way backwards. Pretty crowded day. And as I turned the corner, I watched a gentleman get out of the truck that was parked, great one, in two spots, dead center of the line. Packed mall, parking lots, just an expanse of cars that echoes off into eternity. And I watched this goob get out of this big-ass truck.
I didn't know that Cole went to the mall.
Oh, yeah. They went big Cole money. I know it wasn't Cole. And here's why. I know it wasn't Cole because this goob got out of his way unnecessarily too large truck to go into the mall. And as I turn the corner, what do I see? But on the back of this truck, a fleur-de-lis sticker the size of my torso.
See, I would have guessed it was a tiger paw. So I'm shocked.
I saw a Saints sticker the size of my torso on this truck.
So you were immediately forgiving?
No,
okay.
I was
All right.
furious. I was furious because while, as of right now, in an act of silent protest, I am neither wearing nor purchasing any New Orleans Saints gear for the time being. People know me, and they know I'm a Saints fan. I've never made it a secret. And this clown parks his unnecessarily large truck across two spots on the line, like clearly, not like oopsie poopsie, that's a bad parking job. No. You did it on purpose. You could have lined the center line up directly under the middle of your truck more perfectly if you tried. Saw that and immediately was like, oh, man. Because now people are going to drive up, they're going to see that truck, and they're going to go, Saints fans. And that's just me now. That stinks. I'm looking down the rest of this thread. Auburn fans have said, we have some of the dumbest fans in all of college sports. A Georgia fan said, Georgia fans act like the same Bama fans at the end of the Saban years that they used to make fun of. A Rice fan says, we should drop.
Wait.
Yeah, there's
this
a few.
this whole thing's bogus now. There are no Rice fans.
There are Rice fans.
No way.
I had a dear friend of mine named Jerry, who was a regular listener to my show back in Destin, Florida, who was a Rice fan, as a matter of fact. And I know that because he used to call the show and be like, hey, Rob, what do you think about this week's game for Rice? And I'd go,
Rice the Owls?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay.
And I would routinely say to him, Jerry, I love you like a brother. I have zero opinion on Rice football, bud. None. Let's see here. An Ohio State fan that says half the Big Ten is really not very good at football.
Okay, so this is Reddit, and so there's no way to confirm if these are actual fans of said teams, and it could be just someone going on and pretending to be a fan of that team just to say what other people are saying. Sounds like it worked to me. I'm just saying.
Lonzo the Fun Killer is back, ladies and gentlemen. We were all worried that the illness may have taken his toll and we never get him back.
It's still there.
But Lonzo the Fun Killer has arrived. On this thread, you were obligated to sport your team's flair out next to your name.
So, I mean, I could do that. I mean, I could just pick a random team and say it's my team.
We're going to continue on as if all of this is real because that's more fun. That's more fun.
I
for me.
am not trying to kill the bit. I am not. But as soon as you mentioned Ohio State, the whole thing's bogus.
Oh yeah. So a Buckeye said something negative.
Right.
That must be it.
That was the joke, and you just want to get.
A Penn State fan said James Franklin is probably the best coach we can reasonably expect to hire. Ooh, that one hurts a little
Yeah,
bit.
but that's true. I mean, that's just we all know that.
At Kruger Dunning said, as a BYU fan, 1/3 of our fan base are Mormon church members that don't really understand football and believe that BYU is way more important than it is. That one probably not unfair. BYU had a couple of years there that they were okay, and then not that anymore. Not that anymore. Texas A&M fan.
Ask how many of those people are married to two people.
Texas A&M fan says, yell leaders are the dumbest tradition in sports and have actively pushed me away from A&M. I can't support my alma mater when those clowns say and do the things they do. My personal favorite was that embarrassing video before Appalachian State, and then we lost. I appreciate an honest Texas A&M fan.
That entire segment was just for that line right there.
Nope, there's another one. Nebraska fan says the home sellout streak is contrived BS and should not be a point of pride because everyone knows boosters bought up the tickets to keep it going. A Michigan fan says Harbaugh is not a quarterback guru like everyone told us. In fact, he couldn't recruit a quarterback worth a bleep. And if Ohio State hadn't turned down J.J. McCarthy, we'd have been bleeped. All his QB recruits were misses. An Alabama fan who said very simply, quote, we didn't deserve to go to the playoffs. An Ole Miss fan, and this might be the most contentious one of all. An Ole Miss fan said, and I quote, the Grove is overrated. It's just a crowded area with people flaunting their wealth with their fancy chandelier tents and cold chicken tenders. Taking down Ole Miss's tailgating scene is considered an act of heresy in the state of Mississippi. I hope that texter is able to keep his anonymity. All right. What is your sports take that you would never admit around your fellow fans? There's something bubbling in there. What's your sports take you would never admit around your fellow fans? Text it to me, 844-326-3663, or call in. Let's chat on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Gunta. I heard him and McAfee had a pretty good match.
McAfee showed up. You knew he would. He was respectable enough to look like it was not a squash because he was able to actually do some things too. So.
NCAA softball tournament brackets are out. Columbia Regional this Friday. It's number 8 South Carolina down on Elon. Clemson Regional Friday. South Carolina Upstate Tangled with number 11. Durham Regional Friday. Coastal Carolina faces Georgia. Knoxville Regional this Friday. North Carolina takes on Ohio State. Download the Odyssey app. Search for Fan Upstate.
Jumble out.
Oh, okay.
Up to the minute, upstate traffic. I-85 is a little better now, but it's still very slow both directions between Highway 29 Spartanburg and I-385 Greenville. I'd count on an extra 20 minutes on your drive between the two cities. Twin Panther is now slower than usual, and Whitehorse is stalling between 123 and 85. The roadwork 385 and 14 up from Simpsonville also sluggish. From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on the Fan Upstate.
They told us nothing but lies.
Monday, my dudes, and it is 8:40 in the morning, which means it is time to welcome back for his regular weekly spot, and we are very appreciative to John Blau of the Post and Courier for taking the time to talk Clemson athletics with us every Monday at this time. John, how we doing, big fella?
I'm good. How are you, Rob?
I'm exceptional. Thank you very much. I slept a bunch yesterday. It felt great.
It always does, doesn't it?
It always does. It always does. All right, man. Let's talk a little Clemson baseball because there was a little bit of concern going into this Duke series. You took the loss to Coastal, and let's start there last Tuesday on the road at Conway. And this is a weird spot because on one hand, John Blau, I want to point out, clearly things aren't going the way that Clemson wants them to right now. And what a bad time with one series left before we get to regionals. On the flip side, you look at the teams that Clemson's losing to. Florida State, very good baseball team. NC State, very good baseball team. Hell, Coastal Carolina is a top 25 baseball team. So where do you land on the something's wrong versus this is a string of very good competition Clemson has been lined against argument?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely make the argument that they're not losing to nobodies. I mean, they're not losing to teams that are at the bottom of the ACC. It's not complete catastrophe in that way. At the same time, if you're losing 9 out of 12 games to anybody, considering the fact that you were 36-5 to start the year against some pretty good competition, that's concerning. Obviously, it was a close game with Coastal. You go back to the Florida State series, you easily could have won that series if you didn't get it blown safe from Lucas Molstead. But I think this past weekend, playing Duke, again, good team, but to have a couple of innings where you give up a lot of runs, a 10-run inning in the 7th in game 2, back-to-back jacks that you lose the game, you get behind 8-2, end up losing 8-4 in that one. There's something a little off here that obviously needs to get corrected pretty soon, or Clemson's going to have a pretty short postseason.
I think this might be a question, John Blau, that is more in line for Eric Bakich than John Blau, respectfully, but I will ask it anyway. What is that thing, John? You cover this team. You follow this team. What would you, if you had to put it on a thing or two or three, what would that be?
I'd start with the pitching. Obviously, the hitting's been an issue, but we actually saw a couple innings, this past weekend where they put up some runs in bunches. The pitching right now, I've always thought that the bullpen was pretty deep, but you take Drew Titsworth and you move him to a Saturday starter role. Obviously, Michael Gillen hasn't come all the way back. All of a sudden, it feels like you have not quite enough arms, especially when the starters are not going enough innings, where it really goes off a cliff at a certain point. And so obviously the 10-run inning that, Jacob McGovern was a part of for Clemson on Saturday. And then you have, BJ Bailey having to extend, and really, BJ Bailey was such a great reliever early in the year. And maybe, as a starter, he's getting stretched a little bit. Just right now, the pitching, whether it's, again, not quite having the starting rotation fully figured out, and then having a bullpen that's been depleted because you're moving Titsworth into a starting role, BJ Bailey into a starting role, and Ethan Darden isn't back. I just think right now they don't have the arms to really kind of, shut other teams down. So when they don't have a great hitting night, they can still win. Right now, I mean, they need a great hitting night. And again, the lineup hasn't been that explosive either. So just a lot of problems that need to get fixed. Maybe Ethan Darden comes back and that helps. But right now they're kind of struggling to shut other teams down.
How does that, and we'll talk a little bit about this final series on the road at Pitt, because obviously the kind of last chance to get it right and figure it out. Has there been any tinkering, any changes that have taken place, whether it is in the rotation, out of the pen, in the lineup, in these last couple of games that you think are adjusted in this final series against Pitt?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Darden, from what I've heard, might be able to come back in the postseason, so you're not going to have him back yet. Obviously, they could try with Talon Bell. He's had some rough innings, too. The freshman, I think he's a really talented pitcher. I think he's going to be really, key for them next year. But right now, not quite there right now. So I don't know really what you can do otherwise. I mean, they're really doing what they can with what they got. You really just need Aiden Canuck on a Friday to go a little bit longer. He's really struggled through some innings and gotten his pitch count up and had to, leave after 5-6 innings. You need him to go, 6 or 7 to kind of save some of those bullpen guys. You need Drew Titsworth to get into the 5th, 6th, 7th innings to kind of save some of those bullpen guys so that when you get to a Sunday, you can patch things together if BJ Bailey can only go 4 innings. But right now, they're in a place where you're depleting some of those arms on a Friday. You're depleting even more arms on a Saturday. By the time you get to Sunday, you really have not much left over. So I think it's really just on the guys they got, because I don't think you can really do anything to add anybody at this point in time. Going longer, kind of saving some of those bullpen arms. And then, hoping an Ethan Darden, a Michael Gillen, some of these guys eventually come back healthy, and then you're a little bit deeper in that bullpen, and you might be okay. But for right now, things are a little sketchy that way.
So 3-game set at the crib. Duke takes games 2 and 3 to win the series, put up 10 and 8 respectively in those 2 spots. Is there, because I was checking in and out along with the NBA, the NHL playoff games, everything else that's going on. If I asked you for a bright spot right now, John Blau, if this team was to end up with a regional, end up with a super regional afterwards, if they make it through, and it was because of a bright spot, what do you think that would be?
I think it's got to be the hitting, coming around. Because again, the pitching, I'm a little suspect of right now. So, that bright spot would have to be all of a sudden these hitters that we've seen, all of them have moments throughout the year. I mean, Dominic Listy started off hitting like 340. Josh Pano was hot at the beginning of the year. We've seen Colin Priest come on at a time. Cam Cannerella's been better. If you could finally get all these pieces clicking at once, I mean, this is a batting order that can produce. We just haven't seen that all year. I mean, Luke Gaffney, for one, has been kind of a little bit of a disappointment, hitting about like 280. Haven't really seen him have a moment. So, I mean, I think if that order can finally click into place, and obviously Cam Cannerella being the star of that order, obviously we saw what he did at the Florida State series with that, inside the park homer, which technically isn't one, I know, because there was an error at third, but barrel rolling in and, saving runs in center field. I mean, you have a star who can make big plays in clutch moments. You just have to get enough guys on base and string enough hits together to kind of make things happen.
How much, if anything, has the fielding defense come into play? Because, I mean, I agree with you and what you're saying, but you put up 7 runs, you put up 10 runs, and you put up 4 runs in that final. It's not like you're losing every game without scoring runs, John Blau. So is there a problem in the field right now, or is this pretty much just pitchers giving up spots at the wrong time and batters coming up short in tough spots?
There's been a couple of moments where, maybe you think they could have made a play or kind of overextending themselves in a way. And, I think I saw a couple moments like that on Friday, early in the game, especially. But I think the defense has been pretty solid. I mean, I think Pano and Chufo at third and short are pretty solid there. And obviously, Jaron Purify, one of the more athletic second basemen you'll see, he made a play yesterday where he was going across his body just a hair too late. Luke Gaffney to do a little split at first base to get it. And so I think they got the guys they need in the field. I'm not really that much concerned about that. At the end of the day, again, it all comes back to pitching and hitting, which obviously are very basic and obvious things in baseball. But you need more from your starters. You need more from the batting order. I think defensively you should be okay.
John Blau from the Post and Courier joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate preview. If you don't mind, John, this 3-game set, you're on the road away from Doug Kingsmore. You've got an opportunity to go up against a good Pitt team, maybe not the most talented team you've played in the last couple of weeks, still a very good baseball team. What do you want to see this Tiger team take away from this as we move towards the ACC tournament?
Yeah, obviously Pitt, like you said, closer to the bottom of the standings, ACC standings, but I think they recently beat Wake Forest. I mean, this isn't a bad team. This is obviously a team you can lose to going to their place. again, I just want to see more consistency from the lineup. Want to see them string hits together, especially with runners in scoring position. I mean, that's been a trend in recent weekends. The ones that they've lost, where they're just getting guys to second or third base, having the bases loaded. Having moments where you can really pour it on and not quite breaking through. So I just wanted to see. I think you want to see Clemson, getting more hits for some of those guys. Again, like I mentioned, like a Luke Gaffney, a Jack Crichton. Some of those guys who can really patch this lineup together, seeing them get some hits, and especially in some clutch spots. Don't leave 2 or 3 runners on base. I think you'll have a chance to win more games than you lose.
All right, John Blau from the Post and Courier joins us every Thursday at 8:40. I hate to ask, but, man, you did it to yourself by being excellent at your job. We saw the House settlement a couple of weeks ago. The judge pushes pause on accepting the settlement, but basically says it's just because of the roster limitation clause. I do not want to see kids that are already on campus, already on scholarship, already on a team losing their spot. So go back to the negotiating table and work this whole thing out. And then since then, we've kind of been waiting on attorneys. Where do you stand on where we stand in the process of the House settlement?
Yeah, just waiting like everybody else is to see, if this adjustment that's going to be filed with the judge is enough. Obviously she said she wants to see adjustments in terms of, like you said, kids not losing opportunities, those walk-ons that Dabo Sweeney talked all about in terms of some of the hardest meetings he's ever had in his life. Telling kids, I got to cut you. Obviously the judge is not okay with those kids losing their opportunities. So we're all just waiting to see. It'll be interesting to see if grandfathering, voluntarily doing it is enough, or if the judge says no, like I wanted it to be very cut and dry, every single kid back. And there's a chance, a sliver of a chance, I don't know if it will actually happen, that if she just flat out rejects it because of the voluntary nature of it, that this could go to court and you end up having the settlement break apart. But if I had to bet on it, if I was a betting person, I think this will go through. I think we'll have revenue sharing starting in July, like everybody's been planning for. But it's never over till the fat lady sings, as they say. So we'll see what happens there.
The common perception that I have gotten, John Blau, is the belief that if this thing does go to trial, the NCAA would likely get it handed to them and could be on the hook for even more than the, $2.3 billion or whatever it is that they already are. Is that kind of what the common perception seems to be, or am I misreading the situation?
Yeah, I think it's $2.8 billion, $500 million short, or $500 million short. So yeah, if they were to go to court, the NCAA does not have a very good record in court right now. Obviously, we saw what the Supreme Court and Brett Kavanaugh said however many years ago when NIL started, that you guys are basically running a business here, and ordinarily people pay their employees for these types of situations. And so there's already been signals from other courts. The NCAA's track record is not good. If they were to go to court here, you're looking at substantially more damages. I don't know if it's twice as many or what, but obviously the NCAA schools, Clemson, right now I think it's about like $1 million per year they're going to have to pay in back damages. You don't want to see that number go to 3 or 4 or 5 million per year. So obviously every administrator in America, I think right now, is hoping that the settlement goes through, especially because they've been planning for this revenue sharing thing for months now. But they don't want to have to deal with the aftermath of what could be a much worse result if they end up going to court.
John Blau covers the Clemson Tigers for the Post and Courier. You can find him on X at John_Blau. John, my man, as always, brother, thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week, big dog.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rob.
You got it. John Blau from the Post and Courier every Monday at 8:40. Next time we speak, we will know more than likely where-ish the Clemson Tigers will be seated in the ACC tournament and just how much work they will have to do in the conference postseason to try to earn themselves a regional/super regional down the line. When we come back here in a minute, some of y'all have texted me. I am asking you, what is your sports take that you cannot say around your fellow fans? We've gotten 5 or 6 in. I'm looking for the rest. 844-326-3663. The final hour of the show starts after Lonzo sets the tone, and I mean tone, with his sports flash.
It's a low-key tone, but it is Monday. I mean, why do you want to get all excitable yet? I mean, pace yourself. The OKC Thunder have tied their series with the Nuggets at 2 games apiece with 92-87 win in Denver. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 25, while Isaiah Hartenstein added 14 boards. Nikola Jokic had 27 for Denver, but shot 7 of 22 from the field. The Atlanta Braves dropped 2 of 3 against Pittsburgh, ending the series with a 4-3 loss yesterday. Chris Sale gave up 8 hits and 3 runs and struck out, 8 in 5.2 innings. The Braves are 19-21 with a 3-game set against Washington at home starting tonight. Clemson basketball center Victor Locken has torn a tendon in his left foot, according to reports. Locken had been invited to the NBA's G League Combine later this month and is eligible in the NBA draft in June. Locken could be ready for training camp in September if he is signed. Sorry, no time to go to the load screen or whatever that's called. I don't know, man. What day is it? Is I alive? I don't know.
I mean, an R-Truth match makes no sense. That's his childhood hero.
And it absolutely makes sense. This is the greatest hits. I mean, so he's going to be wrestling guys who mean the most to him. I'm sure he has a lot to do with choosing who he gets to wrestle. I just hope that Joe Hendry manages to do what he's trying to do and gets to wrestle Cena. I don't think that one's going to happen, but you never know. Don't badmouth R-Truth, Zach, friend of the show.
Friend, buddy of the show.
Right. He started our show with hearts.
He did.
It was amazing. ultimately, James, if they were to turn R-Truth heel for the rest of the year, for him to follow in the footsteps of his hero, that would be interesting. Yeah, Zach. And then I saw something about like a major life announcement he's getting ready to make, and I haven't seen anything else about it. And I don't know. Is he done with Game Day? Is he done with Raw? Is he retired from the ring? That would probably be the one.
Stepping away from the podcast to go full-time wrestling.
No, I've lived my dream. I've been in the ring. Those chops hurt. I'm done.
Yeah, Gunther chopped the will to wrestle out of me. So back in the last hour, I asked all of you to give me a spicy sports take that you would not say in front of your fellow athletic supporters. Give me a sports take you would not say in front of other fans of your team. I unfortunately don't really have any. In fact, quite the opposite.
You have friends. You mean you don't have any takes?
Yes. Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's all right. That's very fair. I am usually not ashamed of my sports takes because usually, as I do know ball, they're pretty good. Like, for instance, and this one's been challenged, obviously, with the rise of the Broncos, but I've said for many years, Sean Payton isn't Sean Payton without Drew Brees. I give him the same credit I give Bill Belichick. Pretty good coach, but ultimately the game plan was always do whatever you need to do to get to make 9 successful. And Sean Payton was very good at establishing a franchise that allowed Drew Brees to do Drew Brees things. I don't think he was anything brilliant. I don't think he was this master technician like he's been made out to be. I think he's a good coach, but I think he understands, and maybe this is the mark of a good coach. Maybe it's not about the X's and the O's as much as it is about understanding the talent, the playmaker, the stars that you have, and setting them up for success. So there you go. I don't think it's a hot sports take. It was leading up until this offseason, but I don't think it's been a hot sports take the last couple of years for me to say our owner is trash. Now, it's always been trash as far as an owner. Now it's, oh no, she's a bad person too. So spicy? Yeah. Unpopular? Doubt it. So I've asked you guys to send me in your sports take that you would not say around your fellow fans. And we've got a couple of them so far. One texter wrote in and said, Panthers are historically better than the Cowboys. Are they? I mean, historically. I'd say maybe in the modern millennium.
I mean, how would you compare that? Because one's been around twice as long as the other. Do you like put first seasons, second seasons, third season? Is that how you compare that?
Yeah, I mean, if you'd like to say since the Panthers became a thing, I would say so. They've been to a couple of Super Bowls. They've won the division a number of times, whereas Dallas has not been to a couple of Super Bowls. So, I mean, it's not unfair, but I think you'd have to define that for me. Let's see. Texter said, a Florida fan texted in. Twisted Whisker text the show and said, Ben Hill Griffin is no longer one of the toughest stadiums to play in. We held on to the old ways of doing things while everyone else was getting bigger and louder, end quote. This is interesting, Florida fan. It is interesting because you guys aren't downsizing and a lot of big schools are. I've pointed out a couple of times. This past off season, if you checked into a Florida State game, you noticed that there was a big wall of seats that were missing from the home side of the stadium. And the reason for that is Florida State, in a quest for money, removed a handful of thousands of seats, regular seats, and are replacing it with what is effectively a luxury football watching area for big-time boosters. They are cutting the number of seats down in like 2/3, and they are putting in like a full-service, comfortable football watching area for people who give the university more money. They have decided, good, bad, or indifferent, up to you. They have decided that it is more important to make the big money boosters want to come to games and feel like they are special and part of the whole thing. It is more important to do that than it is to have that extra 5, 6, 7,000 fans in attendance chopping it up for the squad when the defense gets that third down stop. Florida, my understanding, has not bought into that yet. Now, I do think every school is going to have to buy into that at some point because, again, revenue distribution and the back pay from the House settlement are going to put these schools on the hook for a couple million a year. So I could see it going in that direction. But outside of that, I would ask you, as somebody who has been to a number of games at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium down in Gainesville, Florida, but has not been there in a long time, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by it's no longer one of the toughest stadiums to play in because you have embraced the old ways and not the new? And the reason I say that is because based on our conversations and interactions with a lot of college football fans, it feels to me like a lot of fans wish their school would embrace the old ways, right? I know a lot of folks down in the Florida Panhandle, Florida State fans, who are genuinely upset that Florida State has decided to do away with a few thousand regular seats and replace them with a few hundred luxury booster seats. Not just because of the fact that you are getting rid of seats for rowdy fans to come be loud, and you are replacing them with booster seats that are meant to be sat down and relaxed in a social occasion. And if you have ever been to, and I can say this for me and my experience is accurate, although anecdotal, I have been in booster seats at college stadiums before. I have been in luxury boxes for college games before. And what I can tell you is that generally, those aren't your loud fans. Those aren't your aggressive fans. Those aren't your, tell the other team exactly what we think about them fans. Those fans are, more often than not, there because, sure, they may love the team, but they're there to see and be seen. They're there to show their influence. They're there to kick back, relax, and enjoy a little Saturday college football out in the sunshine. The fans that you were taking seats away from, the fans that are going to drop $40, $50 on brewskis during the game and get a little chaotic up in the building, you not only have removed a few thousand of them, but you have also shrunk the ticket supply. You have now made every other ticket in the building, if your team can sell out the building, which after last year from Florida State, probably not. But if you're selling out the building and you're good, you have just increased the price of tickets by default. So what do you mean by that, Texter? I'm genuinely curious. Let's see here. Texter said the 2016 Clemson team benefited from a lot of bad calls throughout the year, particularly the Louisville game where they couldn't stop Lamar Jackson. For the record, stopping Lamar Jackson that year was pretty much only going to get done by having some calls go in your favor. The kid was redonkulous. But that's an interesting take. The 2016 Clemson team benefited from a lot of bad calls. Forrest texted the show. Forrest said, I'm a Cowboys fan. I think we have the most ignorant and naive fans in the NFL. Forrest, you're right. You're completely correct. You're completely correct. I've grown up around Cowboys fans. Naive and ignorant. Ignorant's a strong word. I would say naive and obnoxious. With all due respect, of course, Forrest. Cowboys fans are they're a very special group of people. Ain't no doubt about it. They're a very special group of people. The old joke goes, how many Cowboys fans does it take to screw in a light bulb? 80,000. One of them to do it. The other 79,999 to tell you about how much better they screwed that light bulb in during the 90s. Hey-o! I'm not.
Such a classic.
I mean, it is. It's, tip your waitress, try the veal. I really don't have a problem with that one for us. I don't want, I'd like to sit here and be like, you're beating up your fans too much. That's too far. It's not. It's not. I will say to you, Forrest, about your football team moving forward, however. I hope for your own sake and well-being that this George Pickens experiment works out. Pickens got down to Dallas, and in his first emergence on the social media / traditional media circuit, he immediately started calling the Pittsburgh Steelers, quote, the cheapest organization in the NFL. Immediately. Just started throwing shade the second that he showed back up on the scene. If this works out and Dak Prescott...
Does that sound inaccurate, though?
I don't know.
I read that and was like, okay, that's probably true.
I don't know is the answer. I do remember the story from a couple of weeks ago, and in fact, we played the audio from Victor Cruz when he left New York, and he said that the Giants were impressively cheap, down to, and up until just a couple of years ago, there were some NFL teams that were, and I know that for us out here in the real world, this is going to sound like the most #first world problem of all time. But up until a couple of years ago, when it became a real sticking point for a lot of players, some of the teams were making their players pay for childcare and pay for their own lunches during practice, right? They'd bring you to the facility and you'd have a practice, and then you'd go to lunchtime and you would get your lunch, and they would take the fee for your lunch out of your paycheck. Like I said, it is definitely a #first world problem.
When we get done today, we're going to have to buy our own lunch.
Here's the thing.
And we're not, last time I checked, as well compensated as NFL players.
You are correct. Here's the thing.
Was that in the collective bargaining agreement that they had to buy them lunch?
No.
Okay. All right.
Here's the thing. This is effectively a spot where once you grow to get accustomed to a thing, you come to expect that thing. If we worked for, and this is not disparaging, but if we worked for a spot for a few years and that spot provided us with free lunch every day and got us an Uber every day so we didn't have to drive, we just sit in the back of the car and do our last little bit of show prep while somebody probably named James drove us to work every day. Bring the call, James. And then you went somewhere else that they didn't do that. You would, I think, almost naturally just go, oh, this place is cheap.
Remember where we are. Our car driver would definitely be a Bubba.
And it would be a big-ass truck. Big-ass truck. I had nothing against big-ass trucks, by the way. Just, if you aren't talented enough to get your big-ass truck in a parking spot, you don't need a big-ass truck. Big-ass truck, fine. But if you can't, the problem with the big-ass truck ain't the big-ass truck. You know what the problem with the truck is? Most of the people driving those trucks can't drive those trucks.
Well, there's that. And if you bought a truck, what are you hauling? You help your neighbor move furniture? What you putting in the back of that? Because if you ain't putting anything back there, what's the point?
I mean, I don't even go off on that angle of it. I understand that angle of it. I don't go off on that angle. My angle has always been people who drive those trucks for whatever reason, most of y'all can't drive. Or you can drive, and for whatever reason, you've just decided my truck's big enough, the rules of the road don't apply to me anymore.
There it is. That's the one right there.
Yeah.
That's it.
You've decided my truck is so big that the rules of the road don't apply to me anymore. And you know exactly who you are and what I'm talking about. It is a daily occurrence for me. A daily occurrence for me. To be on the way home, I got to take the interstate to get to the crib. It is a daily occurrence for me to get on the road home, and I'll be doing 5, 6, 7 over the speed limit on the interstate on the way home. And I will be passed by some dude in a war machine driving 26 miles over the speed limit and looking aggravated as hell at the people that have the audacity to only do 5 or 6 over. I don't have an issue with the big truck. I have an issue with the fact that not all of you, but man, there's some jackass, big ass truck drivers out there that make y'all look real bad. As a group, as a collective. When I pull up in the mall and you got your big truck intentionally parked in 2 spaces, no. You wanted that big truck. The repercussion of the big truck is that sometimes you can't fit in a regular car parking lot. You got the truck, so everybody would look at you and go, oh, that's a big truck. Take your big truck out there to where the people aren't so you don't have to eat up 2 spots with your big truck. Okay? Stop. Texture said, I will say the atmosphere, this is the Florida fan, I'll say that the atmosphere in South Carolina and LSU is a good example of the light shows and the music. Florida didn't jump on that same bandwagon until here recently. And with that being said, the aura of playing in the swamp hasn't been what it used to be. Okay. I mean, that's fair enough. I think a lot of these schools are making these upgrades to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. The problem is, if you don't keep up with the Joneses, the kids want to start hanging out with the Joneses because they got all the cool stuff. They got the pinball machine in the basement. Figure it out. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in a minute. Got a few more things to get into. We will recap where we are in the NBA playoffs after a few interesting games over the weekend. I got that coming up next for you. Keep sending your hot take that you would not say in front of your fellow fans to 844-326-3663. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, quick break. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. You can keep sending your takes in, looking for your takes that you would not say in front of your fellow fans. We've given you a couple, got a couple from Florida fans, Cowboys fans, had a Cubs fan tossed in there as well. Texter, which team? Texter said, our fans are somewhat fair weather and will jump allegiances at the first sign of a losing season. Who are they talking about, Lonzo? Who are they talking about? Our fans are somewhat fair weather and will jump allegiances at the first sign of a losing season.
I would never care to speculate on something like that. I wouldn't want to spread falsehoods.
You sure? You don't want to wager a guess here?
I'm not going to play a sounder. I'm not going to do it because it may be something totally different, and I don't want to get bitten. I'm still very ill and not on my game.
All right, so we're having that conversation. You guys are welcome to jump in, shoot us a thought. What hot take do you have that you would never say in front of your fellow fans? Now let's get some National Basketball Association in here for just a minute, real quick before we get to the actual games. We just got a Shams wow a minute ago. Not that there is any movement happening right now, but Shams jumped on ESPN a few minutes ago and is reporting that Giannis Antetokounmpo is indeed open to moving teams this offseason. He said he is open to exploring different possibilities outside of Milwaukee. He will be the biggest domino to fall. We do have, by the way, the NBA draft lottery coming up tonight. We'll get to that here in just a minute from right now. But I would say Giannis Antetokounmpo, probably a bigger name than anybody that's going to get drafted, including Cooper Flagg, number 1 overall, the 2-time NBA MVP, has, according to Shams, not made any firm decisions on his Bucks future after the franchise's 3rd consecutive postseason exit in the first round. Since the Bucks won the world title, they have had 1 conference semifinals that they lost, and they have been bumped in the first round the last 3 times in a row. But for the first time in his career, Antetokounmpo is open-minded about exploring whether his best long-term fit is remaining in Milwaukee or playing elsewhere. Teams have approached the Bucks regularly over the years about the availability of Antetokounmpo as a normal exercise and are expected to ramp up due diligence during Combine Week, according to league sources. But Shams writes, any conversation surrounding the perennial All-NBA superstar and 2021 NBA champion start primarily with where he believes his long-term future lies and whether there is a franchise outside of Milwaukee that is sensible for him. So we'll see if that's going to play out. I have said for a while that Milwaukee is kind of, I don't want to say wasting Giannis Antetokounmpo in his prime years, because they did win a title. They have been to the playoffs every year. There's a lot of teams that would happily trade places with that. But the biggest acquisition that they've made in the last couple of years was Dame Lillard. And Dame's a great player, but like he ain't T-Blazers Dame, right? Like he's good, but he ain't Trailblazers Dame. And outside of that, like what's the move they've made? What's the move they've made to say, all right, we've got a superstar, we had better build around him? What's the move that if you're Giannis, you go, okay, they're still giving it a shot. They're still making it a run. NBA lotteries tonight. Utah has the 14% is the highest odds to end up with the number 1 overall pick, 52% to end up in the top 4. Washington has 13 point some change odds to end up as the number 1 overall pick, also a 52% to land inside the top 4. The Charlotte Hornets just slightly behind Washington, 14% to end up with the number 1 overall selection. If any of these teams, actually, forget that, whatever team ends up with the number 1 overall spot is going to end up drafting Cooper Flagg. I just have to. Cooper Flagg is, again, I thought this past basketball season, college basketball season, that overall Janai Broome was a better, more NBA ready today player than Cooper Flagg. But at this point, it's pretty obvious Cooper Flagg is the right pick. Charlotte right now, most likely outcome is being selected to draft 3rd in the NBA draft. Once we find out their spot tonight, we can come in here tomorrow with some draft strategies. Let's talk about the NBA games from over the weekend. Last night, the Pacers absolutely dominate the Cavaliers. They were up 41. They scored 80 points back in the first half. By the end of this game, they had emptied the bench. It was all role players getting the time late. Pacers play fast, man. Pacers play fast. They actually, and I've said this 0 times until last night, and we will talk potentially about this depending on where these series are with noted Pacers fan hating-ass Mario on Thursday. Mario has been saying this whole time, the Pacers play fast. They want to get up and down the floor. They want to wear you out. They want to have so many possessions that you can't help but make defensive mistakes, and then they want to take advantage of that. You add in the fact that they are not going to get punked. They are not going to get out physical. You add into that the fact that Tyrese Halliburton, I almost said Jason Tatum, which is the exact opposite. Tyrese Halliburton has been remarkably clutch in these playoffs. If the Pacers end up with the ball late in a 1-possession game, right now I think I probably trust Tyrese Halliburton more than any other player in the league. That dude is onions with the ball in his hand when the game is on the line. The Pacers right now are, and I mean it, everything I thought the Boston Celtics were going to be in these playoffs. Now, Boston ended the shooting slump. They went 20 of 40, most made 3-pointers in a game this postseason. Finally broke the slump, shot 50%. But up until this game, everything nice that I had said about the Boston Celtics probably applied more to the Pacers. They're going to get up and down the floor. They're going to overwhelm you with possessions. They're going to overwhelm you with number of shots taken. They are going to do everything in their power to try to get you out of position, out of rotation, and make you miss defensive assignments, and then take advantage of those and not miss those opportunities. Everything I said Boston was going to do, Indiana has done in this series. Thunder 92-87 over the Nuggets. Look, no reason for Denver to be down. Well, they're not down. They're tied 2-2. No reason for Denver not to be up 3-1 in this series, to be honest. That yesterday was a more than winnable game for Denver. Yesterday was a day that, to me, the strength of the Nuggets was on display, except they couldn't make a shot, right? The strength of the Nuggets being experience. We've been here. We've done this. We've got the T-shirt that says NBA World Champions on it. Oklahoma City is not. OKC is, as the expression goes, in the deep end. They're swimming with the sharks. Here's the thing. I can't have Nikola Jokic going out there and shooting for 17%, 20%. Like, when Jokic is missing bunnies at the glass, Denver's in trouble. And that's what happened yesterday. To me, if you would have told me that the final score of this game was 92-87, my assumption would have been that the Nuggets pressed Oklahoma City defensively, that the Nuggets got them missing shots, and that the Nuggets won this game. Instead, series tied 2-2. We'll talk about Boston and New York, Minnesota and Golden State when we come back, and we'll wrap up the show. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you, the Rob Brown Show, is on the Fan Upstate.
I'm good.
Coastal Carolina faces Georgia. Knoxville Regional this Friday. North Carolina takes on Ohio State. NASCAR Cup Series Sunday at the Kansas Speedway. Kyle Larson took the checkered flag. He's coming on the mass. Chris Bell on second, Ryan Wendy third. Baseball Sunday, the Pirates win 4-3. Braves pick up Sean Murphy, pulled Atlanta into a 3-3 tie in the eighth when he ripped a 3-run double to left center with 2 outs. But Joey Barnes fielded his choice on a hard ground ball on the bottom of the ninth. He's enough to get the Pirates to win. The Braves open a 4-game series at Washington tonight with Grant Holmes starting against Reggie J. Irvin. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. Chuck Sanders, that's the sports flash of the Fan Upstate. Testing.
We are live with Chick-fil-A.
This is great.
And this is Laura.
And the real thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that sweet bun.
And that chicken filet is perfectly crispy and soft at the same time.
And that Smokehouse Barbecue sauce is a lot of fun. And the brown sugar bacon definitely had a little bit more pizzazz. Also, the mac, one of the all-time greats. Man, I'm getting hungry.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and then Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for the testimonial.
Do you have $10,000 or more?
Which one? All the poses of pain. Got quite a few. Stuff is hanging on, man.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products for next day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done. My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. From my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in.
Wow, you're digging, James. I am not participating because this is like a former host would do something like this, and then once you said something, they would use it forever. So I am not giving fuel. I would just sit back and listen. Oh, that sucks.
As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products for next day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
That's awesome.
Busy keeper. Have a conversation with that back line. Boston Celtics won 115-93 over the New York Knicks on Saturday. This was after going down 2-0 in the opening 2 games of this series. Look, I was on the show Saturday before this contest, and I said this one breaks down real easy for me. The Knicks are playing the best the Knicks can possibly play. The Knicks are doing the best the Knicks can do. I don't think there's any upping the accelerator for the New York Knicks. Boston is obviously nowhere near as good as Boston can be. And the unfortunate part for Boston is that the biggest problem exposes the next problem, and the problem that I think came into play for Boston in those second 2 games. The biggest problem, obviously, is that Boston in games 1 and 2, as the old expression goes, couldn't find water from a boat. I mean, they just could not hit a shot. It didn't matter what they did. They just could not find a shot. And what ended up happening was even getting up 20 on New York. Without the ability to hit a shot, New York was able to just start ticking away at the score. And the next thing you know, it's a close game. And in both of those games, you ended up in a spot where Boston was being attacked by the New York Knicks. Boston was being attacked by the Knicks because the Knicks said, well, if you can't hit a shot in regulation, then we will take the shot that you can't hit a shot in the clutch. We will take a shot. We will take a risk defensively. What they started to do was effectively throw extra defenders to the outside whenever Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown had the ball and say, these guys are not going to get going. No matter what it takes, we are not going to allow Jason Tatum and Jalen White to get comfortable and start making shots. Somebody else is going to have to do it. And other guys were like getting theirs, but nobody went off. Nobody was able to really dig them out of that hole. So then you end up in a spot in both of the first 2 games where Boston stays alive just because they are that talented. Boston stays alive. They give themselves a chance late. And for whatever reason, Jason Tatum just can't close. He just can't close. And because of the fact that he can't close, New York said, that guy's not getting the game winner off. In both of the situations in games 1 and 2, specifically in game 2, when Tatum started driving to the rack, which, you know, I'm a big drive to the rack guy. Like young ballers out there, listen to Uncle Rob. Figure out how to get to the hole. All right? If your shot's not falling, get to the hole. If your shot is falling and they are collapsing the defense on you, get to the hole. Just about every problem that you're going to have on the offensive side of the basketball can be fixed by getting to the cup. You do that, you give yourself a chance. Problem was, because nothing else was working for Boston, when Tatum picked up the ball and started going to the rack, it was an easy double team for New York. Let him get to a corner. Let him get outside of the paint, either direction, left or right. Let him get outside of the paint. And once he's outside of the paint, bring your post defender over, collapse your wing back to that side, make it to where if he is going to skip it across the lane, he's going to have to go over the heads of our 2 tallest players or 2 of our 3 tallest players. And he's going to have to deliver a dime. And then, oh, by the way, after he delivers that dime, player on the other side has still got to make a mid to long range jumper. Jason Tatum both nights drives to the corner, gets down to the short corner or free throw line extended. The Knicks bring a second defender over. They double the ball. They take the short passes away. He has 2 options. He can pass back out to the top of the key. He can take a long skip, or he can force a heavily contested jumper into a double team. Both times he tried to force the jumper, but the second time he tried to force the jumper, elevated, recognized, I'm blocked. I'm not getting this shot off. Tried to panic pass back the other way. And in doing so, ended up having Mikal Bridges just take the ball away from him. In the first game, tried to make something happen. Mikal Bridges just stuffed him. My dudes, somebody else has got to do something. The only reason those double teams happened was because nobody else was doing anything. And when nobody else is doing anything, I can bring extra heat onto the best player. That's all that happened. It was nothing special. It was nothing fancy. They brought the heat onto the player who was the one guy most likely to hit the miracle. In game 3, yesterday in New York, everything was falling for Boston. Once it became obvious that the shot was back for the Beantown Celtics, then what happened? New York had to go back to playing a base defense. They alternated zone and man, but a base defense. Boston was creating one-on-ones. They were getting into the mid-range. They were knocking them down. Or they were getting into the mid-range. The defense was collapsing, and the kick-out was to players that were wide open outside of the arc. Make your shots, good things happen. If you're not making your shots, then decrease the distance on your shot, and good things will happen. Boston got it right in game 3. And not only did they get it right in game 3, but assuming that they have now heated up, assuming that they are now comfortable and confident in their shot, they have their, as the kids at least used to say, swag back. Now that they've gotten comfortable, if that shot continues to fall for Boston, if they are going to continue to shoot, they shot 50% in this last game. If they're going to shoot over 40% from 3, the Knicks may not win another game. I mean, there is the chance that they do, because I think Karl Anthony Towns, who was like okay in the last game, not good, not bad, just okay, I think he's going to have a rebound. Jalen Brunson, who was held, I believe, close to scoreless in the fourth quarter of that last loss. I don't think Brunson is going to throw up another stinker. The Knicks are going to make this a fight. But I also think Boston's found the stroke, man. Boston's found the stroke. I don't see how they bounce back. So, of these series right now, Denver, I think, is in a bit of trouble because they are where Boston was after 2 games. That's not to say this series is over. If Denver and Oklahoma City play the same game back in OKC, but Denver can get the shots to fall, if maybe being away from the house clicks Nikola Jokic. By the way, did you see his roll-up fit to game 3? He had a fully custom, fully tailored 3-piece suit with vest. Green vest, purple jacket, purple pants. Joker rolled up as the Joker on Saturday. And then proceeded Friday. Proceeded not to have a great night. The Nuggets still 113-104. But Jokic was bad in that game. 20 points, 8 of 25 from the floor, 0 of 10 from behind the arc. The problem that I have is that's a game Denver has to win. If you have an 8 of 25, 0 of 10 night from Nikola Jokic, you have to win that game. They did not. They turned around and got the next one back, but I don't think OKC got the next one back because OKC was the better basketball team. I think OKC got the next one back only because Denver could not put the brown thing in the round thing. And assuming Denver gets that back for the next one, I think that series is in trouble. And as far as Golden State, Minnesota goes, look, the earliest they could get Steph Curry back would be Game 6. I said on Saturday, I'll say it again now. This series is not going to 6. Minnesota's up 2-1. They're going to Game 4. It's going to be 3-1. They're going to end up sweeping the rest of the way. Steph Curry's not coming back. Golden State's not coming back.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
All right, time to find out what the X is going on. And I almost hit breaking news on this, but I did not because it just kind of happened. The first thing that's Xing is Rich Eisen.
Oh, I have no breaking news on Rich Eisen.
Okay, according to several sources, Rich Eisen is returning to ESPN from noon to 3.
Really?
Yes. No longer to be on Roku, going to be on ESPN. And this makes me wonder with Pat McAfee, like texting out some cryptic stuff as he taking his show. This is just me speculating.
Yeah. McAfee, I got it sent to me last night, put up a big thing on Twitter and on Instagram that said like, your life is a story, and if it's not where you want it to be, then turn the page and stuff. Like it was definitely I'm moving on to something else.
Yeah, he's with all the things that he's doing, something is about to change, and I just wonder if this has something to do with it.
What's McAfee's hours right now? It's 12 to 3, right?
Yeah, it is, but only 12 to 2 on ESPN, and then still on the YouTube page and other stuff. So yeah,
that's interesting.
Those two may have nothing to do with it, but the fact is it's the same time slot.
Same time. And on top of that, like it's no secret that McAfee has pretty strongly butted heads with a number of high-level execs, not over like content of the show.
I also don't know if it affects his radio broadcast here or not.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question was, what does that mean for the Rich Eisen radio show?
I don't know. All right, the next thing that's Xing is Sabu.
Sabu, one of the greatest hardcore wrestlers of all time, ECW megastar, passing away yesterday at 60 years of age. Sabu just had his retirement match like a week ago, too.
Which looked pretty rough, and then him dying a week later. Some people are speculating maybe something had to do with that. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's not possible, obviously.
He was, I think I read, only 60.
Yeah, 60 years old. He went through a barbed wire bed in that game.
Yeah, it got his head stuck.
Yeah.
From what I could tell. Yeah, it was not, it was ugly. Was not a big ECW guy. I know of it and saw bits and pieces of it, but I know what a big deal Sabu was.
Oh, yeah. He was still showing up in ECW every now and then.
AEW.
I mean, AEW, sorry.
Yeah, he showed up in AEW. All right, the next thing that's Xing is James Gunn.
James Gunn is Xing because, actually, I saw something with his name pop up earlier. I know is it Superman hype?
Couple things. One is Superman hype, new Superman trailer. Drops Wednesday, supposedly.
How many of these are we going to get? I mean, I'm not against it.
We only got one, and then they refined that one. So technically, there's only been
one.
The other reason is Peacemaker 2. The trailer just dropped, and there are a couple. Have you watched it?
I have.
There are a couple of characters that show up in Superman that are in Peacemaker 2.
Yep. Cody Decker and I were texting back and forth because he's a big nerd. He's excited about it, and he sent me the trailer. He's like, watch it right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I'm working. He's like, shut up, watch it. So I shut up, then watched it, and number of crossover spots there.
Guy Gardner is going to be exactly what we thought.
I can't wait. He looks like such a doof, and I'm all in for it.
He does. He absolutely does. And finally, the last thing is, let's go with Steve Winwood. Why not? It was either that or Jeff Cobb. And I'm not sure you know about Jeff Cobb.
No, I mean, I know of Jeff Cobb, and I know he made his debut in WWE. But I have no idea why Steve Winwood is trending.
It's his birthday.
That makes the most sense.
Listen, some people know who that is. You'll be back in the high life again, like after the show. So, I mean, why not?
We live in the high life, baby. That's it for us. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, you have bad taste in radio. Come back tomorrow. We'll update you on the NBA and NHL. We got to talk Carolina Hurricanes tomorrow. This team's fun to watch. So we'll talk Carolina Hurricanes and Panthers and Clemson and South. All the things we talk about. You know how it works. Have a great rest of your day. Don't drink and drive. I will punch you in the face, and we'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later.
Your sound just not working today.
I didn't get Chris Friday to log me into
Because you didn't try.
Yeah.
Okay.
James, I am also super concerned about the Superman movie being a huge flop, but I am going to say that
I am not.
I don't think
no
James Gunn
concerns at
has
all.
had a flop yet. I think he's had some movies that didn't jump off the page like the rest,
Guys are weird.
but I don't think he's made a flop. And the trailers look good. So
And also, Rob is not a Superman fan. I'm guessing, James, you probably aren't either. So
I'm not a Superman fan. There's just been too many spots where, like, every time Superman finally feels threatened, they're like, oh, by the way, here's this other thing he can do.
yeah, you keep saying that. I need sources because I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, guys. Got a meeting here in a few minutes I got to go get ready for. So thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed the show. Come back tomorrow. We'll do it again. Tell your friends about us. We're trying to get rich, famous, and retired. Bye.
Yeah, I'm retiring today.